All right, welcome everyone. Welcome to the CoinRock Show. The final shakeout. Are we in a bull market? Are we in a bear market? And what is happening in the market aside from down only? We have a special guest today, Lucas, who's joining us in a few moments here. Welcome everyone. And let's just push this out in different groups. And we'll get going here in a few moments here. I'm literally just tweeting this to a few people, sending this over. Welcome everyone, and we will be on. We planned to do this like a longer stream for a couple weeks now. And why not do it when everyone is depressed and shaken out and sentiment is at its lowest? So we will add Lucas here. We will add Lucas here, and Lucas, you should be good to go in. Give me a thumbs up on backstage. All right,
Good.
let's.
Yo, what's going on, man? Can you hear me? Is everything good?
Type in 1, guys, if you can hear Lucas. Should be all good.
Live in the Airbnb, per usual.
Aragon says, my therapist said it will be okay. Take 2, Aragon. All right, welcome everyone. Welcome to the CoinRock Show. We have, we've been wanting to do a solid 2-hour show with Lucas for a couple weeks now. I think it's a good opportunity to talk about the market. And building is one thing. We'll talk about events too. We had a really cool event yesterday, a CoinRock event, but the market, what is going on? So let's start with that. I think that's the theme for today anyway. Welcome everyone. Share this into to people, as many people as you can. And we'll have an honest conversation here about the state of the market. I have a lot of insights based on the conversations I had yesterday, and Lucas has a lot of insights too. So what do you think? What's on your mind?
We just had a very long spaces. So if you're coming from the spaces, what's up, guys? Yeah, I mean, I think people are very overexposed right now. I'm very overexposed. For me to be overexposed, I'm pretty tight with my positions in and out, and I have conviction bags that I'm willing to hold. But this was pretty brutal. I think people are kind of coming around to the fact that Bitcoin is decoupled from the rest of the market. And this cycle is a reflection of the greater macro conditions, and I think that it is a transitory cycle. It is the golden bull run, but people are hurting right now, man. It's like on all levels, like except for maybe the institutions and some of the builders that don't really care, but people on Twitter, they care and they're hurting.
Yeah, I think that it's a very interesting phase we're in right now. I think that yesterday we had a CoinRock event in Dubai, a lot of fun, about 40 people. Lucas, you'll be here probably in a couple months, so we'll do another one when you're here. Very interesting. Everyone is in the industry, right? Different in different places. Some are literally on the institutional side, so they deal with B2B, big buyers, not paper hands. So, and then you have there were a few marketing agencies, a lot of quite a few VCs actually who just invest their own funds or who manage funds. So very interesting to get non-CT vibes, and of course everyone is on CT, but also everyone has a different perspective depending on where they are in the market, where they are positioned. Are they on the retail side or are they more on the institutional side? And I think the takeaway here is I see, and I tweeted about 2 days ago about the massive difference between the institutional thought and the way they think about crypto right now, and retail. And I've never seen a cycle where it's that opposed, right? When you talk to institutions or to not just builders, but executives in large firms. We had a few yesterday who came up. We did a Padel event. So for those who know what Padel is, it's a lot of fun. It's a great way to network. So, we're going to be doing a lot of those. And it's a great way to connect also with other people, but in a non-conference roomy environment. So a lot more fun. Everyone, just the vibe is just more enjoyable than being in a suit and tie. And so
No, I'm glad to hear it went well. I saw the pictures you sent last night. I
we
think
have a
it's
lot of footage
cool. I
coming
think
out.
doubling. Ah, nice. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
I think it'll
yeah.
be cool to see that come out. And
Yeah.
on the building side, for people who are just like maybe they're in the ecosystem or they're just scrolling or they're following. We've been building together now for pretty much like a year.
A year.
It's
Yeah, yeah.
kind of gotten more intense, and I've been
Yep.
getting way more involved. In some of like the daily stuff and more of the operations, like learning from like what you and Caius do. And I think it's really cool for me at least, to see like kind of how you guys are responding to this. It's kind of the same thing I've been saying, where it's like the people who understand where the opportunity lies are doubling down their efforts to build and to network. And I think it's difficult to convey to people who maybe aren't in the industry or who aren't like here in real life, who are just kind of
Yep.
passive investors, or they follow us and stuff. And it's a little different too, because right now here in the US, you have ETHDenver. So you have people going to ETHDenver. You have a lot of conferences going on, and the vibes are interesting. I'll say that. I didn't go to ETHDenver this year. I know a lot of people who did. And people in the industry versus on Twitter, it's very different. So while there may be people that you follow online who are freaking out, a lot of like builders and companies and institutions don't care. That's like what you need to understand.
Yeah. And it's funny. So we had like couches set up in a circle, and you had some people were literally on the B2B side, so institutional, others running like retail marketing agencies. And it's like from one person to the other. Some are freaking out, like, oh my God, like, is this the end of the bull market? Like, and then others like, we just saw a drop in volume on the trading side, and that's it, like unfazed. So it's so these two takes are so different. I've never seen a cycle. The first cycle, you've been in crypto longer than me on a day-to-day basis, but my first cycle really was like 2017, 2018. I've never seen this contrast between retail and institutions. Institutions, so anyone who's involved on advising companies, advising large traders, or building on the centralized exchange side, or working directly at centralized exchanges. Yesterday we had a few people who were, who are executives and who came up to play Padel. They volume is down, but no one cares. It's very interesting to see the timeline of the panic versus the ones who are actually in the industry and see the volume. And yes, the volume is lower, trading is lower, but there's no panic.
Well, look at how Bybit responded to the biggest hack in crypto. $1.5 billion they had to make up for essentially overnight, right? And they had to respond to it and address customer withdrawals and address the FUD. And if we look at like the last time an exchange wasn't able to let's say be solvent, was like the big one, FTX. I think that's a pretty good way to point to like, hey, like this is something that's different. This was handled professionally. It was handled properly. The response was very transparent. Bybit is a very transparent exchange. So, that's something I think people can point to who aren't involved in the day-to-day, who aren't in the industry, and see like, oh, wow, like there is like a level of professionalism here that's not bottom of the barrel. So, yeah, I mean, look, for everyone who's watching this, whose coins are down, I've seen the coins go down a lot. I've seen them go down 90% multiple times. It's, you can't have volatility only one way. If you want to deploy into very risk on assets, there's no better risk on asset in the world than crypto, but that volatility does go both ways. And, even for some of the people who this is their first cycle or their second cycle, it's getting to them, right? Because I think the big thing is that Bitcoin's kind of hanging out in this range. And we might see Bitcoin come down to the 70s, but it's still very strong, like super high relative strength, a lot of institutional buying. And then you look at the meme coin charts, and they're all the same. It's like the first leg, the second leg, down, down, down. And so, ask yourself, like, am I okay? With this downside volatility, am I okay holding things? Like, what is my thesis, right? Like, when the hype is gone and the speculation is gone, what is your thesis behind holding certain assets? Like, for me, like holding certain projects, I know what's going on. I know, who's building, what they're doing. Like, why are you holding these coins? It has to be beyond just because the thing is a funny picture.
Yeah. I think that there's, let's be honest, there has been some froth over the market, over the last few weeks. I think Trump launching his meme coin, Melania, memes running up to hundreds of millions in hours, sometimes for days at most. There's definitely some frothy signals, but far from the euphoria we saw in the previous cycle. And I think that, looking at the type of buyer has changed. And I think that's what many people don't understand yet. And you and I get it because we see all this volume. We talk to a lot of different people, right? On the retail side, of course, because we have all these different groups and we have our own projects and everything, but also on the big buyer side. I call them the big boys in the industry, the industry makers and shapers, the BlackRocks of the world, the Citadels. And in this case, centralized exchanges too. When you talk to OTC desks, I mean, demand for crypto in general has never been higher. That's what people need to understand. And yes, there's going to be pullbacks. It is a very volatile asset. So my thesis, and I talked about this back in December. We talked about this on several shows that we did over the last few weeks. I was always short-term cautious / bearish. I even tweeted, I think back in November, December, I said, we might shop back to the mid 80s. I have that tweet, and I will.
You did call it. I'll admit, you did call it. Yes.
Just because that's how crypto operates. I mean, if I was talking to a guy yesterday who works at a major centralized / DEX on the executive side, and this is nothing special for them. Just so you understand, like it's a blip. It's literally like a bump on the road. It's nothing for them. The budgets. What's interesting too is to understand how everyone plans their budgets, right? When you talk to centralized exchanges, they have marketing budgets ranging from a few $1 million all the way up to 9 figures, right? So $100 million plus. They have plans. Their plans do not stop now on the marketing and acquisition side, on the user acquisition side, right? Yes, they can always be a black swan, but they have their marketing lined up for the next several quarters. So they're not expecting a full-blown crash and a full bear market now. That's the overwhelming thesis when you look at the quote big buyers. They're not looking at the last spike up now, euphoria. No, there's a few quarters here. Everyone is when you've been talking about this for a while too, like the extended cycle. This is pretty much it. That's what this is not just a thesis that we came up with last night. This is what people making major investments in the tens of millions of dollars to onboard retail, that's how they're thinking too. This is an extended cycle. There's going to be pullbacks. It's going to suck. But the big buyers are signaling that they are interested in crypto. A big headline that came up a few days ago, and we'll talk about CoinRock Media in a moment too, but one of the big headlines, and I think I tweeted this too, is Citadel, right? Citadel is basically the biggest market maker in traditional finance. I happen to know people who are ex-Citadel, some of the top guys. Very interesting to know that to understand they were making moves in crypto, and they weren't doing anything in the previous cycle. That's what everyone needs to understand. I hope you guys, I hope this gives you kind of a sigh of relief that the big boys are moving into crypto, and they don't move in because it's crashing to zero, right? So and they need the bags to pump to. And yes, in the case of Citadel, they're basically approaching the market with a market making business, which is a huge play for them in traditional finance. That's one of the main revenue.
Which it's important to note, these are not like what you hear us talk about when we say the market makers are
I was
extracting.
waiting
like,
for you to say that. Yes.
These are regulated companies. These are, big, like Fortune 500. They have multiple levels of scrutiny. They're regulated properly. And market making in crypto, it's funny because I didn't even know this until like this cycle. Market making in crypto is perverse. It's much worse than you would think. It sounds very
It's not
innocuous.
making.
Market making.
That's the thing. They use the term market making. It is not market making. But in crypto,
I mean,
it's very different.
They sent us one of these, intro packets to sign for clients and stuff. And it's like, do you want the chart to look like this or like this? Like, here's how we can do it. That's not market making. That's called market manipulation. It's a very big difference. And I never liked these guys, and I'm super glad that they're being held accountable, because if we want regulation, we need market makers and institutions to come in. Like, I know that, look, we wanted decentralization, we wanted this and that. Well, this is what happens when you have that, right? Like, I'm much more of a realist than I used to be, and I think that we need regulation desperately. Like, we're dying for it. We need to come in here and clean the space out. And I'm not trying to excuse TradFi of their many grievous, affronts to the middle class or to the working class people, because TradFi, I posted a meme. It was like, this isn't really like the saviors. It's like, oh, you're kind of under new management now. But the difference between like the institutions and the people that are here now is it's like overfishing a pond. Like, they know that you can't keep extracting and never give people a win. You have to have a fair market, right? Oh, fair market conditions. You have to let people, you have to give them just enough to keep going. Otherwise, you take everyone's money, the well dries up. That's what's happening now.
Yeah. So I've been short-term cautious / bearish. And when I say short-term, it's weeks from like mid to end December, because you have to think of the catalyst, right? Crypto is very much driven. It's very much headline driven, hype, right? It's a very hypey, probably one of the most hype driven markets we've ever seen. So if you think of what's happened between November, so US elections, January US elections, the Trump pump, right? What do we have today and in the coming days and weeks? The truth is not much. I mean, there's really not much. Like, there's no major headline. I think the Trump coming in and kind of, the former SEC administration leaving, that was extremely bullish. So now, especially yesterday at the event, one of the main conversations was, in the coming days, there's nothing super bullish. So my take is we keep ranging. It's going to be choppy. I think a lot of, I think if you're trading the market, you need to either have great tools. Shout out to JeetBot, because we're launching the new Sniper either today or tomorrow, hopefully today. So that's on the tool side. Or you just need to be good and be able to be able to trade on different time frames, because most of the big traders right now, it's very difficult to call. Are we going down to the mid 70s? Are we wicking up to like mid 90s? It is what it is right now. It's choppy, and I think it'll stay choppy.
Have these liquidation sweeps have kept happening. It's not like a great time. People who are switching to perps right now, I keep saying this. I'm like, you're not going to make it on perps after you just lost on meme coins. You're replacing one gamble for another. If you're going to gamble, go to cyclicsgames.com and then have some fun there. But narrative follows price. I'm seeing a lot of bullish news. Like, here are just some from today.
Yes.
The first SOL ETF listed on the DTCC. We have President Trump closing 120 IRS tax offices nationwide. SEC ending investigation into crypto exchange Gemini. NVIDIA higher than expected Q4 earnings from last year. Bitcoin spot ETF 5.3 billion in volume. We have Oklahoma's government passes the strategic Bitcoin reserve bill. We have a lot of bullish, but because the price isn't up, people, aren't going to click on that kind of stuff. And that's just the reality of it. So, if you understand that, like, what you just said is true. It's like this is a hype driven industry, but also that narrative does follow the price. So, there's a billion bullish things I'm seeing, but they're not getting clicks because price is down. When we see price come back up, we're going to see more of that. And, the fundamentals for me, I'm actually more bullish than I was at the start of the cycle. But, this cycle has been a cycle of retail and institutions in very different places. And it's the most painful cycle by far. I mean, again, not to like rehash the whole discussion we had about pump fund, but we've had altcoin dilution. We have retail pretty poor. I mean, we can, again, point back to the 75% spot or 75% leverage versus 25% spot volume-wise for this run. So we have more coins. We have less money to go around. And so that's going to equate to a worse bull run. And I think the institutions are going to, really get into crypto in a big way. And a lot of this money, 70% of the money is in the boomers' hands, is going to flow to crypto. And we're going to see kind of a flight to quality, a flight, great rotation to value, like I've been saying.
Yep.
I've always said that, like, there will be a time to buy things like Chainlink. That time's approaching.
Yep.
So,
what's funny is, by the way, all those news headlines, I'm looking at the CoinRock site. We're launching that hopefully today. The next time we do this, we should do another one like this in a few days, Lucas, and we'll actually have this as the background. The headlines are super bullish. That's what, I think everything's getting lost now because price is down. But if you take a step back and you kind of remove your emotional, it's very hard as an investor and trader because you are emotionally attached to your money. You look at your reports and it's bad. So any good news doesn't register the same as if we were at 125,000 BTC and, alts were 2, 3, 4 times the price they are now. So, but you need to be paying attention because this is where the money is made. Yes, we might dip a bit more. We might range. I definitely think we do range, but this is where the money is made. When if your time horizon is long and you're not looking to flip, and I fully agree with what you're saying about, people trying now to become traders and leveraging. Worst time ever to do it right now, right? Because it's a skill set. There's a time and place to be a trader. Of course, it's a very profitable trade if you are good, if you're a skilled trader. But thinking that you're going to make it all back in one trade, like, oh my God, that is tough. You're better off trading spots, honestly. So there's less risk. You put your stop loss in. It's easier.
I mean, it's funny because it's like coming in and playing the game on the highest setting when the game admins are actively like playing against you and can track your every movement and motion. Market makers know their time is coming, and so they're taking money off the table. It is what it is. I do want to point out that on a prior stream, and I'm going to switch my tab here, so hopefully I think it shouldn't really affect it. I made a point in the spaces I was just in. We had in this cycle a couple of legs already. We had like that first, when I started buying crypto was in June, July 2023, when we whipped up to like 30, like low 30s, like 30K Bitcoin. And then the first real like leg up was in October 23 when I came out and said, hey, I'm selling my ETH. I'm going all in on Sol. And we had that first leg. And then that was right when you and I met. And then we kind of chopped for a couple months sideways. And then we had that another leg in February into March of 24. And then we chopped for another like 6 months. And then we had that massive leg. And so this cycle has been defined by these massive, massive price movements to the upside, followed by intense periods of sideways price action and range-bound price action, and then a massive dip, and then they send it, right? So that's kind of what's been happening, and we're going through that period again. But I do think it's important to note that even though we had that 6 months of chop and it was brutal, we still had, altcoins ran, meme coins ran. Every time we have that sideways price action, once that initial dip, like this correction we're going through right now is over, there will be time to have, opportunity again. So it's not like it's a total, it's not like it's a total altcoin season, but you can still make some good money on spot positions if you know what you're doing.
Yep. Yeah, I think that, even look at the numbers here, right, on the stream. The last time we did a stream, we had about 2,000 people on, which is this is very indicative of retail, right? When the prices are high, attendance is high, show up rates are high, and when the price sucks, people lose interest, and you literally have to do the opposite if you want to win in the market. This is when you need to be focused. This is when you need to be looking into projects, looking into what pre-sales are going on, what coins got, absolutely awful price action, what updates, what projects are building, what releases are coming up. There's a lot of projects coming up with, and literally saving a lot of news. We have multiple projects inside CoinRock that we are not marketing today, because why the fuck would we? Like, no one is paying attention to the market today. The ROI on marketing today is catastrophically low. Spoke yesterday to several very, very solid marketers who only do Web3. Everyone's waiting, because why would you allocate marketing dollars right now? The attention is not here, right? So again, but if you are retail today, right? So if you're not B2B, not dealing with institutions, this is when you need to stay interested, because it never stops. Like, on the building side, we don't stop. This is when everyone is uninterested, you need to stay focused and locked in, like Gen Z says.
Yeah, staying locked in is important. I mean, but I also think, like, I'm seeing a lot of people over trade right now. You probably don't need to do that much. Like, honestly, taking some time to touch some grass, to reflect on your mistakes, to reflect on how you feel right now, and how, like, depending on what you're holding, you could be feeling a different type of way about these different projects, because what's your thesis?
Yeah.
So, like, take this time to reset, like touch a little grass, like watch a little anime or something. I don't know, dude. And like, come back with a renewed enthusiasm, and really, like, dial in on what you think is a good thing to pay attention to, what narratives you're looking into. For us, it's just, we want to continue building the coolest stuff.
Yeah.
And right now, I mean, I know the constant, like, when marketing meme. It's true, but we really can't do that much right now in terms of, I can go deploy $500,000 into some influencers. That's not going to generate any kind of interest, because
Yeah.
people don't want to see that right now. I mean, you have general viewership drop offs because people are touching grass, and people are kind of like poor. People are kind of like, I don't want to touch any of this stuff. But it does give us a chance to really build in a way that some of these other teams kind of don't. And
Yeah.
when they're a serious team, if they're continuing to push in times like this. And it's no coincidence, by the way, that certain airdrop seasons happen when they do. It's the same kind of thing going back to the marketing. Projects aren't going to TGE and drop a token and give it to a bunch of people who just lost everything, because their chart's going to go to zero. And it's
Yeah.
just, you're going to transfer liquidity to people who are short-term speculators, or who might have held a token or staked it, but they just got wrecked for 99% of their portfolio. So yeah, now is not the time for that. Now is the time for, hey, like, what's going on with the devs? Like, what's going on with the code? Like, what's going on
Yeah.
with how is this looking? How's that looking? That's really what we should be doing. And that's what we're doing.
Yeah. 100%. So the building never stops, right? I think that's something that when you've built companies, there's no time off, right? Of course, you have weekends, right? But to be honest, Lucas, this. I haven't taken a day off in like almost a year now since we launched Cyclic. So it is what it is, right? But on the build, I think on the retail side, people unfortunately always equate bad price with dead. Oh, bad price is down, everything's dead, no one's building. It's like, no, I can guarantee that the building doesn't look at the price. Like, builders don't look at the price. Of course we know what's happening, but it doesn't affect the way that we run team calls, or how other dexes, for example, launch new projects, or onboarding side. Yesterday the conversation, like, it's funny because as bad as the price is, and there's a few like, the market kind of sucks these days, but no one's waiting for the market to rebound. Like, meaning, no one's waiting for price to go back up to make deals. Deals are happening nonstop. I mean, we're making deals, Lucas. We're on calls like multiple times a day. It might be a bit slower on the retail side and the trading volume side, but it there's no pause.
Well, it goes back to like these VCs have to deploy,
Yep.
and a lot of people are building cool stuff. I mean, even like Robinhood, which I consider to be like, they're not exactly on the cutting edge anymore. They used to be. They're kind of focused more on TradFi now. They came out and said, "Hey, like we're doubling down on crypto too." So shout out to like the institutions and the firms and the funds that are still continuing to put the work in. And I think that it'll be very apparent, right? Like, if you're looking into like who's doing what, and for instance, like what we're doing with JeetBot, things are going very well, even if it's not like we're shining the spotlight on it. And there's 1,000 projects out there just like that are built by people who know what they're doing, that have good intentions, that are cooking. And you can't let the price action dictate ultimately like what your perspective is on the project. I like to look at a historical price action. So like when I go to judge a project, the first thing I look into is like, how long has this thing been out? What's the prior price action? What's the community like? Who's building this? What are the tokenomics? And you can tell a lot about a project by just those simple things. And you can go pull up CoinMarketCap right now and go down to page 200 or 300 and find dozens of projects that are actually doing cool stuff, and dozens more that you probably shouldn't get involved with. So it's up to you guys to make that distinction.
Yeah, I think that there's a time and place for retail. So if you are retail, right? So what is retail? If you're trading on Binance or Bybit and you're buying coins and and you're in these Telegram groups, you are retail. And there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. If you're on the institutional side and you're talking to VCs all day, or family offices and raising capital, you're not retail. You can still be retail and degen on your accounts, but
I'm definitely retail. I'm definitely retail. I mean, look,
you're also on the building side. So you're
trades.
actually in between. You're on both sides.
Yeah, but I think that's important, at least in our relationship, because I think that the way that I've kind of introduced you guys to crypto and the way that you kind of introduced me to like the institutional side of building, it's been really powerful. I think that's our biggest advantage, is we have like people from both sides of the culture, and that's really what crypto is missing. It really is. I think it's crazy to me how many projects, and we see them, even competitors, I won't name them because no free press, trade on JeetBot, who have decent projects and are, don't have the marketing firepower, don't have the sauce, the spice of life. Because you can build the greatest thing in the world, but if you come in there and like try and appropriate the culture, or you're not like, building anything that people care about, there's no point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually a good segue into building, or how we think about strategy in general. I think that, again, yesterday there were some good builders, right? There's a lot of good tech, right? There's some interesting projects, but when you get into what's your tokenomics strategy, what's your go-to market strategy, who's on board, who's not on board, all those things that as a builder, if you're a young tech builder, you can't know these things because you haven't been in business long enough. And not to throw shade, or to diminish anything, or to belittle you, but you simply don't have enough years. You haven't been doing this long enough to understand that the product is just one piece, and then you have operations, management, security, tokenomics, go-to market, marketing in general. What is marketing? Is it Web 2? Is it Web 3? Is it KOLs? What KOLs? Are they botted? Are they real? Is it long-term? So it's like a can of worms. And there's a lot of good projects, but that cannot even operate within a team for more than a few months. And you've seen this because you've been around all these teams too. Maybe talk about like what you saw at Downmaker too, some teams just
dude, I lit
within weeks.
I lit a lot of money on fire and worked with projects I probably shouldn't have, that didn't know what they were doing. I worked with like anything from like some NFT marketplaces that had real good tech or good founders. They just didn't have a business plan, or people who had the business plan but didn't have the right like front facing people, or worked with the wrong people. It only takes one bad apple to ruin the entire thing. Like the ultimate thing that kills projects in this industry is greed, and I would say a lack of awareness about their situation. Like you have to be mindful of like, hey, like is this something people want to use?
Yeah.
Are we going to fund Vape to Earn for $6 million and actually happen in 2024? Probably not, right? Like crypto has allowed everyone to raise capital in a really new and innovative way. And I think that's a good thing, right? Like I believe that if you have an idea and you want to do something with it, you can put together enough materials and excitement to convince people, hey, like, I want to participate in this and you raise funds. You should be able to do that, right? But it also comes with, if you're going to democratize fundraising, you're also going to have to democratize the way that people spend their money, and they spend it on dumb things. There was a project last cycle called Pixelmon that raised like $100 million for a just abysmal.
I think I remember that one.
It's this. There's this picture of the NFTs that they had raised $100 million for. They had all the hype in the world, and it came out, and they looked like. Let me turn this for you guys. Yeah, this was the $100 million NFT, project. So yeah, that's the level of professionalism here. Now they really tried to turn it around, but that was extremely overvalued, and I don't know. I wouldn't have bought that. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, and these raises, and that's actually a really good point. Do you remember when they raised? At what part of the cycle?
It was like the last big NFT raise. It was like right at the end. They slid in for their 100 mil. They were like, thanks, guys. We're not going to do anything with this. We're going to go to the Caymans or whatever, to Jamaica and go on the beach. I mean, what the fuck was that, bro?
You actually don't need 100 million to build a marketplace. Like if you've never built anything if you're raising 100 million to build a marketplace.
It was like it was a game. It wasn't even anything. It was like a game.
Yeah. No, it's wild. But that's why I asked, because that is max euphoria, it's like when VCs don't even look at the pitch decks, like, oh, take these 5 million, take 500,000, a million, 500,000, 2 million, 5 million. Yeah, we're not there yet. We haven't seen that in the last few months. There was deal flow, of course, but
I would argue that the meme coins have replaced that. I would argue watching Trump do his thing that extracted $500 million on day one. These extractive events. That's kind of what's happening now. But I do think, like, again, it's going to happen every cycle where there's stuff like that. I think that's kind of done with. Like, I saw a really interesting point from Arthur Hayes recently where he said, the people are kind of done with this whole, the meme coin, like dropping a bunch of money into these big meme coin rugs, but also they're kind of done with these $1 billion FDV launches where it's down only, because he was talking about Barachain. Barachain just launched and their chart was pretty bad because it launched at too high of a valuation. I think there's a healthy balance between not having $1 billion launch on TGE and bringing something to market with very to little to no funding, right? You don't have to just put something out there. The products that will do the best are the ones that raise like low to medium amounts at appropriate valuations and take their community on a like wealth creation journey with them, right? Because you want people to evangelize your product and your token and say, like, these guys are building cool stuff, and look, I appreciate it on value on this coin or whatever. Check it out, right? And I think that's where people need to go to when it comes to the raise. Like, not every project needs $1 billion TGE. Like Grass, I think, was appropriate because it was one of the biggest airdrops in the history of Solana, except for the Jupiter airdrop. So millions of people, that's appropriate, right? But for most projects, raising just enough to get it done, putting it out there and seeing how the market responds is probably a way better way to build a successful project and have a better chart and have a better community, because you're making people money essentially.
Yeah, and I think it comes back to the idea, one of the core, like the ethos of crypto too, right? Like it's for everyone. That's ultimately how it started. It's not what it was, but I think the VC game, and we talk to VCs all the time. I've done private equity for years in Web2, so I know the game very well on both sides, right? I think the VC game it's very interesting when you actually talk to VCs face to face outside of like what they say on stage and on panels, which I've been on. It's like the truth is always, you'd be amazed. It's very funny to once you know the truth, it's like that scene in The Wizard of Oz, like looking behind the curtain. It's like, oh, this is how it is. Yeah, it is. It's pretty bad. The typical VC is, they make horrible choices, right? The majority of the choices and investments are bad. 90+% go to zero. They don't contribute much at all, if anything, right? We've seen this. We know them. Some are good, but the overwhelming majority just need to allocate. Like, I think people don't understand, like, they need to allocate. They must give money away. And some of them yesterday.
Different tax bracket of problems. Like, I've seen some of these guys' portfolios, and I know they watch some of these videos. Like, some of y'all really deploying into some ridiculous things. I mean, I would not even put some of these logos on my portfolio, dude. Like, Jesus Christ, dude.
No. And so, one of the bragging points for VC is like, oh, we deployed $50 million last year. It's like, fuck, man, into what? Like, your projects suck. Like, who does due diligence for you guys? It's so bad. But that's the conversation, and we joke around, right? I mean, look, they're human beings. Everyone wants to make some money. They think they're doing good. Every now and then they hit a big one, but it is it's a funny side of the industry when you get to know these people. And Web3 is very different to Web2, I will say. Like, there's a lot more scrutiny when you raise from VCs in Web2. Due diligence is much tighter. Not that they don't invest in shit, but the due diligence process is actually real, like, more due diligence than Web3. Web3 is they'll invest on a pitch deck with no investors, nothing around, no checks into who's founding, who's pushing, what go-to market is, especially in phases of euphoria, which is always very funny to watch.
I recently learned what a SPAC was, which is very funny. And when I learned what a SPAC was, for those of you who don't follow equities, because I'm not really huge into them, I've been getting more into them because it helps me become a better crypto analyst and trader. And, some of these guys have exposure to that. So you want to be able to talk about it. This is kind of funny because it reminded me of a lot of what crypto does. These traditional VCs will allocate to a bunch of stuff that doesn't matter. And then they'll take the company public with a SPAC, and it'll be down 99% in a year. Like, whoa, bro. Okay. Nice one there. Not to name names. Very funny. Some of these guys are prolific. And it's funny because, Trump did that with Truth Social too. I think that was more of a way to get some money in the door from certain benefactors, but interesting to see how that kind of plays out. I actually think when it comes to crypto and tokenizing stocks and tokenizing real estate and tokenizing all this stuff, I think there's ways to solve these inefficiencies with the way that people are deploying their capital. Because when you have an on-chain analysis and history of people who have a track record or who are building, of launching, when everything's on chain, it's a lot easier to track all that information and make sense of it. And so it's interesting because when I worked at DAOmaker, their original mission was to make VCs obsolete. Now, did they achieve that mission? I don't think so. I think that they had a great vision. They came in there idealistically, kind of like me, just a bit older. And then they realized, oh, wow, this is a very entrenched institution that I can't really change, so I have to work with them. So I don't think that the VC model is going to go away entirely, but I think that they have a lot of innovating to do if they want to remain relevant and if they want to not just be down only on their port. I mean, it's unsustainable. I mean, I know they have to allocate, but I think that aligning the fundraising incentives through crypto will make for a better environment for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, there's different types of VCs, right? I think what's interesting, I was talking to one of our team members, and we get deal flow. I talked about this on one of the recent shows, right? I said that the moment we registered the domain CoinRock.ventures, I mean, that's when you get added, you get these bots that scrape email addresses, and then you get all these you get put on lists, and you get hundreds of deals a year and everything. And what's interesting is in crypto, because it started out being very for the very normie friendly, right? I mean, anyone could buy Bitcoin 15 years ago for nothing, even 10 years ago, and be up today in the tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars. And there's actually people who've done that, and they are the VCs. So some of these guys are VCs, and it's just them and literally one or two assistants, and that is the whole VC operation, right? So what I'm saying is there's very different types of VCs in the game. You also then have real former TradFi VCs who worked at one of the big financial firms in the world, and then they basically create their own smaller Web3 fund. This was very much more prevalent in the previous cycle, so a lot of them popped up in the 2021, 22, raised, and now they're deploying. But they're not crypto native, and that's my point. So a lot of the crypto native guys, a lot of them are smaller operations, and they do well because they understand more of the vibes, right? The crypto native side of things. Or on the other side, you have like former TradFi funds who've raised tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars, and now they're allocating, honestly, openly, without really knowing what they're putting their money into. And it's actually funny when you talk to them. It's like, we don't really know.
It's so mystifying as like a retail person. Like they hear like VCs, they hear fundraising, but they don't know like what that means or what these people do or what the system looks like. It's very enlightening. I wish that more people understood like what we talk about when we talk about this stuff. And that's why I think it's important to discuss, because like markets are cyclical. Markets have been, going for hundreds of years at this point. But the one thing that's always been hidden behind them, right, is like the way that the money flows, and that changes,
Yes.
right? And it changes in every industry, but there's always going to be people who have it and the people who don't have it. And so if you understand the people who have it, you'll be a better trader, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. What's funny too is understanding how VCs can be super bearish, right? I mean, we talk about this a lot, right? It's like if you're a young founder, you think that the way to raise money is only through VCs. And sometimes taking money from VCs is actually super bearish. They bring nothing to the table, and they have a lot of control, and they want to have control over the project. And so, we've had those conversations, but we actually reject them very quickly because we don't need people operating anything internally, and with anything we do at CoinRock. And then on the other side, you have guys who are very cool and they vibe and they get it and they just want to be involved with the team and talk. But it's very much how much control. If I'm giving you this money, I also want to control this. And unfortunately for young founders, they get trapped in that cycle. Like, hey, I'm going to give you 250,000 for seed, and then you essentially become a glorified employee, and the vision changes, and what you were starting to build changes.
It's worse than that. I had a friend who nearly signed his soul away for life to this person, to this operation. It's just like there's a variety of different projects out there. There's a variety of different ways to get funded, and working with people to like fund projects. It's about like, is it a good fit for you? Like, who is your investor profile if you're going to raise? Are you better off just, raising from the public? Are you better off raising from VCs? Are you better off getting grants? Are you better off bootstrapping it? I mean, that's a question every founder has to ask. But it's really like, what's the right fit for you guys? What's the right fit for your project and your community? I've always thought like, and this is why I have a lot of respect for like the Soul Big Brain guys, Builder Capital, Matt, the guys that did Grass. Like they care. They're from the industry. They care. They actually like, they let people cook, right? They let them cook. They know founders who have good ideas. They like to surround themselves with people who are very technically capable and provide guidance where it's needed. And they're from the community. They're from the culture. I think that's the coolest thing for me. Just like how I'd want someone, if I'm doing a big real estate deal, I'd probably want to get financed and work with people who are in real estate. And so I think this cycle is, we're seeing kind of like that there's this deviation in the path for people who've been here. It's like, you're either going to get really into building or you're going to get really into scamming. It's one of the two. It's like, there is no in between, and probably 99% of people are going to take the scamming route. And that's just what it is. Unfortunately.
That's actually very interesting, because it's one of the segues I wanted to cover, but this is not scripted, by the way, guys. This Lucas and I can go on for like, honestly, like the whole day, talk about just random shit. Let's take a quick, like 3 to 5 minute break. We'll come back, and I actually have let's talk about some dirt. I have some dirt. Let's talk about some dirt.
Boy. Oh gosh. Okay.
Hey, Matthias here, and if you're enjoying this and want access to even more alpha, early stage deals and opportunities, and also behind the scenes insights on the markets, hit the link in the description and make sure you're subscribed. It's free and it puts you ahead of the curve. Let's get back to the show. We are back. Type in 1 if you can hear us and see us, see the comments. Also, before we get into the next segment here, we just posted the link to the CoinRock Alpha group. So it's literally CoinRock Alpha. That's where we'll post deal flow opportunities, some CoinRock Media news, of course. So have a look in either inside the like in the chat if you're on desktop, or the super cycle says we back, or in the comments on Twitter. And the Telegram channel is CoinRock Alpha, ALPHA. So let's get into some dirt. You remember Libra was a week ago, right? So it feels like it was 6 months ago.
Yeah, no, I mean, it feels like Trump was a year ago. That was like 2 months ago. People still don't understand. Like, this is all the long arm of the law works very slowly, but they're cooked, bro. Like, actually cooked. They fucked over a president. They fucked over the community. They fucked over private investors, KOLs. They handled that terribly. It's so funny to me because I know he's going to be in prison for a very long time. SBF might as well just make some room on the top bunk. Yeah, Hayden is an example of basically everything wrong with his space. I still think that screenshot where he's like, yeah, we're trying to max extract on that one, that's going to be in the indictment, and it's going to be beautiful. So funny.
So headline yesterday, the DOJ, Department of Justice, did you see this? The Department of Justice launches an investigation into the Libra scam. Just so everyone understands, right? These big government agencies, they don't announce anything unless they know they're getting a win. And there's going to be people taking a massive hit. Thank God. I've never been interested in that shit. We've never touched that. But I'm very curious, and I fully agree with you. I think, Calcier Ventures, Hayden Davis's firm, yes, they're named. So you do not want to be investigated by the DOJ. It's one thing, you've seen a lot of DeFi protocols and projects, crypto projects in general, being served by the SEC in a civil case, right? Very different to the DOJ. That is going to be most likely a criminal case. The DOJ does not bring light. You have to understand, they have to choose and allocate time and money and people and talent. So investigators, lawyers, to investigate these cases. And they only do it when they know there is an ROI. All these government agencies work with an ROI, whether it's money, right? Or whether it's a political victory, right? Saying, hey, we caught a big fish. And if the DOJ is doing this, it'll be funny to see who gets named. Seeing a lot of KOLs. I don't know if I know you've noticed, but if you guys haven't noticed, there's actually quite a few KOLs who have not tweeted or not streamed in a week. Very strange. Will they be named? Calcier Ventures.
Yeah, they're cooked, bro. And it's funny because these streamers are like streaming themselves committing crimes. It's the funniest thing. The DOJ must, really be thankful to CoffeeZilla and these other streamers and KOLs for documenting their crimes so well. Well. My goodness, dude. I mean, look, it's one thing to do the crime, and then it's another thing to talk about it on multiple interviews with Dave Portnoy and CoffeeZilla and your own videos and this and that. And the one thing that every lawyer in the space has written a thread on is like, shut the fuck up, guys. This is only going to make your prison sentence longer. Because like for those of you who are unaware, and I didn't know about this till I heard about it from Default, they have like the Fed has like basically like a sheet, your rap sheet, right? Of the crime you committed, the severity of it, how long they can put you away and the charges and stuff. And they're just going through that and making little notes. And so they're going to come in and make an example of a lot of these people, because at some point, like, they're not going to come after the people who are rugging the pump funds at a 200K market cap, but they will come after the guys who are running away with 100 mil. And, you know, it's like that scene from Breaking Bad where Mike is like, we had a good thing, Walter. And, you know, the money was good. You fucked it up. And it's the same shit, dude. It's the same shit. If these people had just done it a little bit better, they could have protected themselves. They could have done things more transparently. Nobody would have had a problem with the celebrities pulling money out of their own coins or the countries pulling money out of their own coins if it was disclosed, if it was done using JeetBot's profit maxi mode, so there was no negative downside volatility. It would not have been nearly as controversial. I'm glad you enjoyed that Breaking Bad reference. And it's true, dude. These people are doing it. It's not about the money anymore. It's like about the fact that they say they can, or that they did it. If you look at the text messages that was leaked of Hayden talking about the president of a country saying that N-word can do whatever I want. He'll do whatever I want because I pay his sister off. That is, first of all, he should be grateful he's not dead. I'll say that.
Yes. Yeah. Some countries you would be chopped up and you know, and just fed to the pigs, for sure.
Yeah, you try that in the UAE, your body's going to be in a dumpster somewhere. They don't play.
I mean, you know, one of the articles here is literally on CoinRock. DOJ investigates Malay's Libra token, Hayden Davis and Kelsier Ventures. The U.S. Department of Justice has opened an investigation into the rise and collapse of Libra. So it's going to be ugly. But also, I think what's going to be very interesting is seeing who has... It's not just this guy, right? I don't know the guy. You know, wish him well. Good luck with, you know, getting out of the DOJ's, you know, the DOJ's system. Good luck, because you'll need it. If again, innocent until proven guilty, I'm all for that. But if you're named, it's not looking good, bro. I think everyone in crypto who knows how these schemes operate knows that it's not looking good for them, especially with those text messages. Again, I'm all for innocent until proven guilty, but I actually, we talked about this. I think we did a space last Monday or Tuesday where we talked about the CoffeeZilla video. It's just bad. It's just bad. I mean, there's dozens of points that any prosecutor can literally write down. Hey, this is plus 2 years, plus 3 years, plus 1 year, plus 5 years. Oh, this fraud. Oh, that. It's bad, right? And the thing you have to understand too is the intent. We talked about the intent and market manipulation. And if there's any type of payment done, it goes into wire fraud and market manipulation. They can say, hey, you're facing 85 years here. You want to settle? Do you want to, like, what do you want to do? It's not looking good. And I think ZachXBT posted. There's a bunch of other online like Sleuth. I know Otteru posted. It's not looking good. Who's going to?
You know, it's funny because I think Hayden is just one figurehead, one front man for a lot of interconnected, you know, people. I mean, this is like an international global crime syndicate is what it is. I mean, you know, racketeering charges are probably going to be brought against these people. And going back to what you said about intent, in a space that's so unregulated, where there's people like you got the people trying to build cool things and, you know, maybe they're liable civilly if the SEC wants to make a case. Probably not, because they just dropped a bunch of cases. So great news for us builders. And then you have the people who are just sitting here trying to extract. It's like it's hard to differentiate these two people because they commingle a lot. You can't really get away from it. And so like even for me, when I helped the government put some people away that deserved to be there, they were very like cool. They were very like, hey, like, just let us know what you know. And I was like, here's everything I know. Like, let me know. This is really this is cool. Like, it's good faith. The government is not coming in here like to try and crack down for no reason. A lot of these people, like the investigators, at least the FBI, they're really like about like, hey, like let's hold people accountable 4 things that they do wrong. It's not like, oh, like you did you need to register as a security or this. It's not that. It's not that.
No.
This is like pure criminal. And
Criminal,
I'm sure
fraud,
there's
yes. Yeah.
yeah. So I think that'll be really cool to see people start going away for that, because it clears the space for the builders to thrive. Like when you take the weeds out of the yard, the flowers can grow. And that's why I think, it plays right into this whole like rotation to value, a flight to quality. And that extends to meme coins too, because I think there is a space, and meme coins are very important to crypto. And I think the ability to tokenize anything is very important when done properly, when done with the right way. And so I think this is all good. This is all good. The only people who are hating on this are the people who are culpable, is what I'll say.
Yes. I tweeted this yesterday about memes. I think everyone, especially when the sentiment in any market is bad. I remember this back in the .com boom. You weren't even born, but like over 20 years ago, all these companies like, oh, every single internet company is bad. Amazon's going to zero. It's all a scam. No, of course, some companies go to zero. Some people go to jail, but there's also companies that operate with the idea of wanting to bring value, and those are still around, right? Google, Amazon, eBay, and many others. But the idea here is that, I agree with the meme thesis, and I tweeted about this, saying that memes are always going to be around. It's a great onboarding mechanism. It's easy to understand. I buy something, I see a chart. Okay, let's see how this goes. Maybe I lose money, but maybe I make money. Memes are not bad per se. And remember, like Doge, Shiba, even like Bonk, that phase before Pump Fund, that was fine. And by the way, I really don't believe that token launchers and Pump Fund is bad. I think the people operating and launching have bad intentions at times when they launch and rug. So they're all tools, but I think memes are a great way to onboard.
It's funny because I had this conversation in a Spaces just before I came on the stream with you, and I was kind of anti-Pump Fund, and because I was never really into meme coins like that. I got into meme coins and got just brutalized, and so I had kind of to take the time to go through and see what was going on. And so like as I've done that, I've kind of come around to meme coins, and Pump Fund is it's like the Silk Road, right? Like you have the market leader. You take Pump Fund down, there's going to be a million other Pump Funds. The ability to tokenize everything does not come necessarily with the advent of real world assets. It comes in the ability for anyone, anywhere to tokenize anything just because. And if it resonates with people, that's the free market. So very in line with the original vision of crypto. And people who say, oh, like look at the money that Pump Fund is extracted from crypto, don't realize that they've actually locked more SOL in liquidity pools that will never be touched again than they have made in fees. So it's actually kind of a net positive in terms of onboarding for crypto. Now, am I endorsing what happened with this, the extracting? No, I don't think that's cool at all. I mean, we're in the middle of a gold rush for money, and people are going to do what they want to do. And some people are going to commit fraud. And that's just, it's like we give the technology to people to do all kinds of stuff. And some people use it for good and some people use it for bad. It's the same arguments people had about Bitcoin that they're making about Pump Fund. It's like, okay, guys, can we just be for real here for a second?
No, I agree. I just think that, and we talked about this over a year ago, this cycle, again, you have real regulation coming in, you have real policing coming in. I aside from the Godbit guys, it's funny because we were actually at the Godbit party in Dubai, and they got taken a few months. I think that party was in May, right before you left, and I think they got taken in September.
October.
October. Okay.
October, I think.
They had a summer.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Dude, that was the guy who invited us there. Is the guy they extradited? I think his name is Alex.
Alex, the CEO of Godbit. I don't know where he is now.
In a jail cell?
In a jail
I don't know,
cell.
bro.
Yeah.
They made a lot of money, and I wasn't super privy to this stuff at DAOmaker. I was kind of a fly in the wall for some conversations here and there, and only kind of in hindsight did I realize how entrenched they were, because the name kind of got brought up every now and then in the groups, or when I was reporting to my manager or whatever. It'd be like, oh, the Godbit guys are in this one, or they're around, and so the name was kind of, for me, it's funny to watch how everything that I saw and learned at Dowmaker and the whole like that side of things kind of came to this cycle. Like the term KOL, I didn't realize how niche it was until this cycle, because that was always what the BDs used, what the managers used. KOL was like a term started by Chinese like BDs, like that to my understanding, and they popularized the term and became a big thing. And now everyone was like, oh, what's a KOL? And I'm like, oh, you guys don't know what that is? It's like, okay, I guess we're gonna do this now. So
yep. Godbit's founder has been extradited to the U.S. on charges of market manipulation and fraud 12 hours ago. It's funny, like literally timely. I know they got arrested like in October. Don't know why they just extradited them now. But again, this is going to happen, right? There's going to be a lot more arrests. And this is, again, these are serious allegations, right? This is not just because it's not like, oh, it's not the XRP thing about registering for security. This is fraud, manipulation, market manipulation. So there's going to be people that get off, and there's going to be people who go to jail for this, And I think it's it's a net positive for the industry too. Intention is always a big deal here in this industry, in new industries. Same thing.
Yeah,
20
dude.
years ago
I could have done 8 figures in fraud in the last year. I know this.
And I know this. I can confirm. I know those deals. I've seen them. I know.
And I haven't done that. I'm sitting in an Airbnb with furniture from 2008. Okay. I think we all understand I didn't do 8 figures in fraud. Okay. And I think that when I say that, people think I'm lying. You are one of the only people who know that I'm not lying.
Yep.
And it's so funny to me because they'll never understand, bro. Like I've held things to zero so many times just because that's what you do, bro. And turn down, payments or this or that from people that I now know. Like you don't mess with those. Like last cycle, I made some mistakes, whatever. Like I was a new kid, had some bad management, but I came in with the good intentions. Now you're not getting me a second time, bro. I'm like very removed from anyone that's doing anything sus. If you're doing something sus, I'm going to be all the way over here because when they subpoena you for the communications about all the shit you've been doing, I don't want to be in that room. I don't want to know nothing. All I want to know is, hey, like, what are we doing for JeetBot this week? Like, what are we adding in the casino? Like, who are we doing an event with now? It's like, this is like what crypto should be. You can keep all that shit over there. I don't care. If this was about if building in crypto was about the money for me, I would be on a yacht somewhere in Mykonos. But it is what it is.
Also, to be honest, if there was, we talked about this when we met just over a year ago, and it was last week of January 24. There's so much money coming into the space. If you just do things the right way and you build the right way, it will take you longer for sure to make the money you want to make, right? If you want to make the money that some of these guys have stolen this cycle, it will take longer because building takes longer. But you get to keep it, and you also get to sleep at night in your bed, and you get to actually have a chill life. And it will take longer. Look, I mean, building in any industry, whether it's Web 2, Web 3, my background is heavy in Web 2, it takes time. Web 3 things can happen much faster because of the viral and the hyper connected side of crypto. But I mean, building takes time. So simple as that.
It's funny because I think a lot of the people who have been on this journey with like Cyclix and with VaultFind, with JeetBot, like I've been like getting to see that it takes time to build good software. It really does. And people don't get what that means. They just want to see instant results. And maybe you can, but maybe it's not secure. Maybe it's not scalable. Or maybe it's like there's a bug in the sign up
results, but it takes time.
And by the way, guys, you should hear Matthias on these calls, man. Like Matthias, we had a vendor disagreement recently, and Matthias, this was to no fault of us, right? To no fault of us. And the vendor was trying to do some things that we disagreed with because the contract outlined something else. And dude, it's crazy, bro. Like Matthias knows what he's doing. He lays down the law. And so like me, I'm still learning how to do that. I'm still very like nice and, it's a skill you learn over time. But operations and companies like this, you have to be very quick. You have to be decisive, and you have to push hard on all. Everyone has to be pushing, and people don't understand when we say, oh, like no days off or this or that. It's constant. It's constant. And even now, like we feel like we're not doing enough. Like we're not moving quickly enough. You have to have that constant sense of urgency because, hey, like there's somebody else out there who's doing the same thing as you, but they're working twice as hard, or they're, they're also taking Adderall, but 60 milligrams, or they're doing this or that. And so you have to just have that sense of urgency, but it does take time.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the other thing is, I'm not a super Elon fan, but some things I disagree with, but he has some very good points, of course, because he's been very successful. One of which is he has this quote about just working more. It's very simple, and I've always, coming from pro sports, I was talented, but I'm not the most talented player of my generation. I mean, there were players. When you're talented, it's often like, especially when you're in the when you're around other kids, it's a great excuse to not work hard. So I always viewed myself as not being super talented because my secret was always outworking the others, right? Of course, you need minimum talent to make it to the level that I played at, but my secret was really outworking the competition, and it carried over, of course, into business.
You ever seen Naruto? Super random question. So you remind me of a character called Rock Lee, and I know that the chat would know what I'm saying. There's this character named Rock Lee who's he doesn't have any special talents or hidden abilities. He spams the physical attacks, and he works all the time. Okay. It's that, bro. Natural talent's only going to get you so far, and I feel like in today's day and age, everyone was told, hey, like you're special, you're gifted, you're this, you're that. And they haven't actually been tossed into the wolves. I mean, there was a reason that in Sparta, they basically like made you suffer all the time. Suffering is growth. Like challenging you to do more in a very competitive environment. And I've noticed in business that the people who are at that highest level usually did some kind of sport. They usually either did some kind of sport, they were really into competitive video games, they were really into like something that made them want to win and show up and outwork the competition. Because I mean, at the level that we're at now, it's not as much about luck or about like anything other than just like, can you deliver and can you show up consistently every day? That's really like what matters the most. And I know that's such a cliche thing to say, but it's so true. It actually it is the most fundamental thing.
Yeah, so Elon has this quote about the amount of hours you work. It's very simple. If you work more hours over a long enough period of time, you win. I mean, yes, you need some luck every now and then. The market needs to be okay, but overall, it's like it's actually very systematic, and that's always been my approach in pro tennis. If I stay and if my competition trains 2 hours a day, which most of them, that's what they did, 2-3 hours a day. But I stay and I do an extra 1 to 2 hours a day over a period of 6, 12, 18, 24 months. They literally kind of compete with me. And that's how I went from being like number 20 in the country to being number 1 and going to the world championships and European championships, and 6th being ranked, finishing 6th at the European championships. Being a moderately talented player. Look, everyone at that level has talents, right? But some of these guys had major talent, but no work ethic. So you can't compete if you train enough. You can't compete with other kids or other businesses who just put in more hours. You can't. It's as simple as that. It's math.
Look at what Elon did with XAI. Like Elon came out with essentially something that in many like tests beats OpenAI. And OpenAI has had, even though Elon co-founded OpenAI, Elon basically, after he got jeeted from OpenAI, or he left, or whatever you want to call it, he basically was like, okay, fuck you, watch this. And he created something that in a few short years, he's able to like outpace OpenAI, who's had all the money in the world, who's had all the time, who have the most users, who have the most this and that. And he's done it by showing up every day and utilizing the resources at his disposal, which X he bought for the data and for the social platform and for the payment stuff and the this and that. He bought X for all that plus freedom of speech. And he used his ability with Tesla to create a giant, they call it Colossus, this giant super center for it's like the largest collection of GPUs in the world, powered by custom water cooling and Tesla batteries. So he did all this, and he's showing up and doing it and putting in the effort, and that's the result. Is you have Grok 3, one of the smartest artificial intelligence frameworks I've ever seen. And it's got a lot more freedom than OpenAI too. It's actually very funny. So that's a pretty good example, I think.
Yeah. No, I agree. For those who are just joining, welcome. You're on with Lucas and myself. Make sure to follow both of us. We do these shows. We'll do these shows a lot more often just because we're literally just launching CoinRock Media. So the media and distribution arm of CoinRock. Think Cointelegraph and CoinDesk, but CoinRock. So it's coming back to like CoinRock Media. We haven't talked about CoinRock Media. I talked about this yesterday at the event we did, a Padel event. We did Padel and networking. We'll have some footage today and tomorrow. But I think that there's space, or at least that's how I saw it. Starting out with the venture side of CoinRock, which is building, incubating, funding projects that we build fully in house. Lucas is on every single project we've either developed or are developing. Wink, wink. And then we'll have a lot of updates about that too. And then the only natural, like the let's call it the other wing, is the media side, and that is a fully independent media arm like Cointelegraph. That's basically the way I describe it, just because until you see the platform, it's hard to understand what it is. It is not a it's not something where we just want to push CoinRock projects, even though of course we'll have ads for that, but it's really we have a full team of writers. We have these shows we'll be doing almost every day. We have a lineup of guests starting next week. And so the idea really is to bring market perspectives about crypto, but also from TradFi. That's why it's called CoinRock and not crypto something. Because now that we're in this transitory cycle leading more into a lot more TradFi, traditional finance interest into crypto, I thought there was a big opportunity to build a leading media organization on the distribution and news side. So CoinRock Media is a news platform, fully built, fully done, launching. Like I said, just like there's a few last things we need to polish on the cosmetic side for the site, but it's looking really good. Even skeptical people we showed it to, like Justin, my partner JeetBot here, who is generally skeptical, and it's good. I always say skepticism is healthy, because is in a market that's too hypey. He was like, "Oh, this really looks fucking good." So anyway,
dude, it really does look amazing. I'm not gonna lie, like for the audience who's gonna see this soon, if you're watching the recording, you should go check it out. I mean, I think that of everything that you guys have done, this is the thing that you have the most experience in, like getting people to check out traditional media, quote unquote traditional media, websites, paid ads, getting eyeballs on content. Like this is really amazing to watch. I was not expecting it, because I think you guys told me you were gonna do this maybe like a month and 2 months ago,
about a
something
month
like
ago.
that.
Honestly, not
a month
more than
ago, something like that.
Yeah.
Genuinely did not expect it to be ready so soon, and I think this is going to be really cool because there's been a lot of gaps in the market with the coin news and all that other stuff, and it really is like amazing to see. So I'm excited to show that. And if you're watching this, some of my friends in the space or whatever, feel free to reach out to us if you want to do a show or something like that. I have some cool guests that I'm tossing your way, Matthias. So get ready for that.
Yeah, we have a bunch of guests lined up. So from Lucas's network too. So if you are a content creator, expert, trader, macro, whatever it is, if you have a voice and you want to be on one of the shows or contribute to the news as having like your own quote column or op-ed, we also have a VIP contributors list where people can come in and just post articles every now and then, whether it's one a month, once every 2 months, once a week, but basically building a news media organization that is that has a full team. Like we have 6 full-time writers, manager, graphic design. Like it looks really, really good, and it's a natural evolution to it's a natural extension to what we do at CoinRock. So we started with the venture side and now the media side, and so we have some very, very cool takes on the market, good writers and good contributors too.
I'm going to be dropping an article in there. The one I've been working on, I've been, holding off posting it on Twitter because I wanted to drop it on here first, like
Yep.
I wanted to be there and push people over there. And yeah, I mean, I read some of the articles too. I think it's like a great place for people to like check the news and check the price and hand, if you have a boomer parent or relative who doesn't like to watch the TikToks we do or the long form content or whatever, or just wants to learn more about crypto, I think that's a really cool way for them to check it out. And it's something that I know what you guys are doing. I know like the quality here, and because I'm very hesitant to send people any kind of information or media who are new, because there's a lot of alternative motives behind a lot of this press.
Yeah.
And so, I can have more confidence sharing this and sending it to like my mom to read. So I'm very excited on a personal level also.
Yep. No, thank you. And of course, Lucas will be a regular contributor to this. So we have, so the model is, I mean, we have a lot of different things, but one of which on the content creation side, a lot of these live shows, CoinRock shows, are then chopped up into different articles. Justin actually was on twice. And funny enough, he saw screenshots of like his articles. He was like, oh my God, there's articles. I'm like, yes, that's how we take the long form and then we chop it up, which is something that a lot of traditional media organizations do. But I think there's really a good opportunity to bring a fresh perspective on content creation. So again, if you are a KOL or an expert at something, whether it's markets, traditional markets, finance, it could be even like stuff like gold, commodities, but something about like in the financial space, reach out. We can, we can have you on the show, or we can also give you like a space to publish articles, etc. So under the CoinRock banner, we have a comment here from Meglin. Let's have a look. These markets have made me mentally exhausted. One of the main reasons I haven't broken is that the biggest chunk of my port is the CoinRock projects, and I know those are solid. Thank you. Yeah, it's been a tough market for I mean, honestly, for many on many sides, right? For newcomers, even for, if you look at some of the, not to name names, but the traders that did well in the previous cycle, some of them just got wiped out this cycle. They're struggling, and they're publicly struggling. They're some of them have been very vocal on not being able to read the market, being flat, and being like, hey, I'm just going to wait because I'm not really getting a read of direction,
I think, when it comes to like the faith that people have in the stuff that CoinRock is doing, it's nice because very accessible. Most times you can't like message a founder in a live stream or message them in Telegram, much to, I know that you're tired of the spam in Telegram, Matthias. I'm in there a lot, talking in groups and DMs and stuff. And like, we're very accessible. Like if you ever want to know, hey, what are the guys doing? Well, it's 2:50 in the morning. I'm on a live stream. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's cool. I think we should see and support more, founder owned and operated, not just like white label crap, like founder owned and operating businesses that you can like, message the people or say, hi, what's up? Cause you can see how passionate we are about it. You can see that it's our priority and that like nothing else comes before the community. I was having a conversation and I'll touch on this a little bit. I checked price today and I was like, oh man. And I had someone talk to me and they were like, oh, like you didn't like, farm the community for hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I was like, no, no. They're like, what? No side wallets? I'm like, as much as my credit card companies would like me to have a side wallet, no. And like that, that's like a very rare thing in this space. So for me, like, I understand that and I appreciate that and I respect that comment and just know that, we're with you guys. So
it's I think what's interesting too is seeing, and I talked about this almost a year ago in one of the first spaces we did, and I said that, you know, we'll see the space evolve when it comes to KOLs in the space. We'll see people stick to doing only KOL promos, right? The classic shills, pay a few $1,000s for a tweet, and that's it. And also, and this is where you come into play, we'll see KOLs understand that the future and the long-term equity and the asset and the value comes from building long-term, not just the one-time shills. And I have KOLs in my DMs asking for work. We talked yesterday with a very close friend that you know very well who was at the event yesterday, and we have the same view. It's like we're looking at DMs, and it's like these KOLs are reaching out for work. They need work because the market sucks, and they spend their money and they need work. And so I think we're going to see a lot more of that. We're going to see KOLs either align with projects, and whether they want to technically build or not, they will take. There's more value if you're a KOL to align with a team, whether it's equity or tokens long term, than just doing like one-time shells. I said that a year ago. It's more prevalent now, and there's going to be there's not many good builders. Of course, CoinRock builds, yes, I mean, but there's other builders too, to give them credit. Of course, there's a lot of good building teams in the space. If you're a KOL and you have some sort of audience, you are better off aligning strategically with fewer projects and having more influence in those projects and doing one-time shills. What's your take?
You know what's funny is everybody hates the paid promos until it's their project, and then they want marketing. Like, okay, there's a lot of hate around paid shilling because a lot of it's scamming. But like at the end of the day, there's always going to be like, you can't. Traditional advertising is pretty dead. I think it's pretty dead. Alternative ways to generate interest through creator marketing, I'm very bullish on that. That's only going to get bigger. And I'm very bullish on micro creators, niche creators who connect with their audience really well, over just paying, someone with 10 million followers for like a one-time tweet or something like that. I think that creator marketing is very powerful and important. And everyone, like I said, everyone hates on it until it's their project, and then they're like, when's the marketing? And so, I encourage you to study the kinds of promotions that are happening, because I'll give you a bit of alpha, right? I'll give you a bit of alpha here for the stream. So listen up. This is important. There's 3 kinds of crypto promotions in crypto. There's the pre-sale allocation / OTC discount, where you're gaining private access at discounted prices for tokens in exchange for support as an influencer. That's fine. I'm more of a fan of this style because it's more incentivized, it's cleaner, it's you have risk, right? There's risk. And then there's the the referral systems for exchanges, for referral partners. Like you could think about for JeetBot, like we have the referral system. People use their ref links for airdrops, exchanges, whatever it is. And so that can be really cool, but it can also be really devious if you're encouraging your audience to like go leverage trade with, 100x leverage and this and that. It's like you're going to get paid on that commission. So treating it with respect and educating your audience about what they're getting into is important. And then you have the paid promotions where it's like, here is, $20,000 in this token to do this many promotions, this deliverables, or cash, or whatever it is. And there's a right and a wrong way to do all 3 of those, but you should be very, very suspicious of any creator talking about anything that's new. Be like, hey, did you get paid for this? It's fine, just tell me, right? Like, I think I know everyone's like, oh, disclosures. I think it's important, at least being like, in the comment section below the thread, be like, hey, shout out to my partners over here. I think they're building really cool things. And I think that wearing it as a badge of honor is really where creators should be going, like being proud to work with this company or that company that is aligned with the vision. Because for me, I always see it as like, you need to have specific influencers partnered with specific projects. And if it makes sense, if it works, then everyone's happy.
Yep, I agree. Welcome to those who are just joining. If you haven't joined the CoinRock Alpha Telegram channel, just push that in the chat. Also, for those who are who like to connect at live events, we had a live event yesterday in Dubai, and I'm also putting the link here to the CoinRock events channel. So that's where we'll push. We'll do an event in about a month. and we'll send you links in the Telegram channel. So I think people want to hear you shill JeetBot. That's my feeling here.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think for those of you guys who have been following what we've been doing, right now, like we've been really focused on perfecting the sign up flow and the onboarding experience.
But first of all, what is JeetBot? Tell us what is JeetBot.
So we're going from the beginning.
Oh,
okay.
the full thing.
So let's back it up. So, me and Matthias here, and Justin, aka Default, and Caius kind of came together to build JeetBot because we saw that we were both kind of working on similar things, but we'd be a stronger team together. So we're all co-founders, and we built JeetBot as a way to solve market inefficiencies, right? Like we built things to solve problems. We find things like areas of opportunity that we can capitalize on, that we can improve, that we can make more, I would say, aligned with the community's values. Because if we look at what Cyclics, the casino project that we're involved with here building, that's aligned with the community a lot stronger than some competitors. So for JeetBot, it's really, we're solving problems, the market inefficiencies, and aligning the incentives of the community to create the best trading platform in the world. And that's what we're building. We started building this based on a new market order type we designed called Profit Maxi Mode, which is essentially based on a market making extraction tool that we have made scalable for everyone to use. And essentially this creates a very aligned market economy where instead of full stacking out on these low liquidity, low float charts and things with very high volatility, you fractionalize your order into sell volume, into the buy volume. So your order gets fractionalized over time, and you get the best price. Your maximized
market
profit.
makers have. Yeah, retail doesn't have this. This is like institutional grade technology.
Yeah, this is like it's a real thing, and I saw it happen in real time a million times, where they'll extract from the chart on TGE, which is where the idea came from, because we saw TGEs that were really fucked up, and the KOLs were selling, and the pre-salers were selling. So all we're doing is saying, hey, if you want to make more money trading, and you want to help the environment and the ecosystem, because we all want to make more money, and this is not an altruistic business we're in. Okay, use Profit Maxi Mode on high volume. If you have size and you can fractionalize your position slowly, and you make more money. And this is it's a revelation that will change the very way crypto is traded down to the most simple on-chain level. Like this is the most powerful software I've ever seen in crypto in the last 5 years.
Yeah, it's so Justin, back in June, Lucas called me. He's like, hey, I'm with Justin. He has this idea to build a bot. I know you guys, so CoinRock, so myself and Caius, my partner, I know you guys were working on a bot. Do you think there's something like some synergy here? And so we were building Cyclics games for the casino at the time. So I said, right now we really want to focus on building Cyclics because it's also like a way to show the community. Because ultimately, Cyclics, I have like I said, a very strong track record in building companies in Web 2, but in Web 3, Cyclics was the first project. And so, my view was, I know how to build, but people need to see this live. And so I said, all right, we'll just do a TGE in April a year ago, and then we'll actually build something. So we did. And so we put that on the back burner on the bot side. And then, but yeah, Justin really is a trader, which I'm an okay trader, but it's not my skill set. Justin is in the trenches, right? Throwing the hand grenades, digging the trenches and making sure not to get blown up. And so he has these ideas because he uses all these different bots. He used every bot on the market. And so he had all these ideas for different features that would help traders. The issue was, of course, building the bot and so turning his ideas into a full product. And that's why we combined forces, basically, to build together, the four of us.
I think that Justin really excels with idea generation and not the implementation, but he has this idea in his mind, right? And he goes, hey guys, I have here's 1 billion of these. Can we build them all? And we're like, okay, guys, let's see what can we build? What's important? What makes money? What makes the most impact here? What can we do with all these ideas? And then how do we implement that? And that's, that's kind of the flow here. And so like Justin, I could have never thought of Profit Maxi by myself. Like I give him full credit. You know, he is very technically capable. And with the implementation and operations that you guys bring at CoinRock, I was like, this is like a perfect synergy here of implementation, design, and marketing. And I've been kind of like the gel that holds it together. And I think that with what we've been working on in this latest update, when bot v2 is ready and we're really ready to push this,
in the
and we're
next
ready
few
to
days, by the way, like I'm looking at the DMs here because we have a team call every day. We have two team calls a day. One was 32 minutes ago, so I'm looking at the updates. It's looking good. It's actually looking good. Unlike what the meme says, it's not looking good, bro. But this is actually looking really good, bro.
So we quickly realized when we launched and had 1,000, 2,000 people signing up at once, right? For the soft launch, we did no marketing. I actively told my people that I have involved here, I won't name names. I was like, hey, give us a second here because we have so many people trying to sign up right now. It's crazy. Give us a little bit to work the kinks out. And so it's going to be a flawless onboarding experience. Like we're ready to onboard the next 100,000 users. And, you know, I don't say that as a maybe, as a likely. I think we can do it. And I think we can do it much faster than anyone really understands because we built the software that makes people the most money. That's very basic. People have found me and DM'd me, and I wear this as a badge of pride. They say, oh, I didn't find you because you're marketing this. I found it because I needed it. Right? Whether that's the sniper we're doing, whether that's the Profit Maxi mode, the rug scanner. And this
Profit
is without
Maxi
anything.
does not exist anywhere else, by the way. We can name the other bots. They don't have it. Simple as that. Simple as that.
They have nothing close to it because it's going to take them months to build. You know, it's funny. We had a competitor create an advertisement with our terminology and a simple DCA sell. And I was like, man, get the fuck out of here, bro.
DCA, guys. Yeah.
No. This is like an actual smart system of selling and buying designed for crypto specifically, although it can be used for all markets. And so we have the best tech. We have the best referral program. We have constant, undying execution, and we have some of the best connections in the industry. And so, and I'm looking around and I'm seeing like, you know, all these new platforms, this and that. It's like nothing's really innovating. Nothing is exciting. Nothing is pushing the boundaries of what's possible. And so like we know how to incentivize people, whether that's for the market order or for the referral system. And we're almost ready to go here. And it's going to be wild because I think we can get to 100,000 users in Q2. I mean, no promises, of course, like no financial advice kind of thing, but very possible. Very possible.
So if you're a KOL or you're connected to KOLs, reach out because the referral system you can actually have. So it's a 6-level deep affiliate system, referral system. So if you are connected to, if you are a KOL, of course, you're going to print a lot on the referral system. But even if you're not a KOL yourself, but you are connected to KOLs, you can print through just referring them into JeetBot. So reach out to either Lucas, of course, or myself, and then we can talk about details and everything. But yeah, very, very exciting. It's building is not easy. And, we talk about coming back to like KOLs wanting to build or seeing the future of building, because that's where the money is long term, right? That's if you are in crypto now and you've done some work, the biggest alpha I can give you is what I've done in Web2, which is ownership and equity or tokens. In this case, let's call it the Web3 side of equity. That's where the money is. So it's aligning with teams and builders who build and execute, because building is very difficult. Even for experienced builders, I've been building companies for 18 years. So I started my first company in 2007 after retiring from pro tennis. So there's nothing I haven't seen I've seen everything there is to see in business. The highs, the lows, depression, the wins, of course. Building means hiring, means managing, operating, incentivizing, making sure no one wants to fuck you over. It's not easy. And we've seen, not to name them, but we've seen some KOLs recently talking about building, and they think it's just like, oh, let me hire a dev and we'll build. It's like, no, my brother, it's not going to work that way. Like it's going to take you years to understand, because it's a skill set. It's not easy.
Dude, when I was building this, the Web3 analytics platform Blocks, we dumped like 100 racks into dev, and got scammed basically.
Yeah.
It was unfortunate. It was costly. Like we ended up finding a dev team that was, they're okay, but they're very expensive. They're hard to work with. They're devs. They're not operations guys.
Yeah.
And so, when it comes to building, most people they actually kind of don't want to build. It's a lot easier to sit on Twitter Spaces all day than it is to actually be in the check-in call at 2:30 and check in with the project manager and then have a conversation with the project manager after that and say, hey, how's it going? And then the follow-up calls and Lord forbid, there's a intermission of service or there's a problem with a code, and there always is. And then you have to go back and say, well, did you check here? Did you check here? Let's test each function by itself. Most people, I think, are not into that. So if I was a KOL and I didn't have this and I was just doing my own thing, I'd reach out to projects that I saw building or people that I saw building in either real life or DMs and say, hey, how can I add value? How can I contribute? I guarantee you, if we had someone hit us up right now who had a following like mine and said, hey, how can I be of help to you? We'd do business with them right now. And we'd potentially be down to do a lot more than just, a referral system. And I think that people they're short-term. They're so it's like watching ants in a bottle, go around and around. I'd be doing that. And I think there's the smart businesses, the smart founders will see those KOLs struggling. We'll see them not being able to monetize, come in and give them either, tokens or ownership or referral, like a preferential referral system or, deliverables and payment. And they'll sign them for a long time and, have it in there. Like if you could become a Kanye West type and we can terminate it and claw back the money or whatever. But if it's a good relationship, do that. I think that's what needs to happen, honestly.
Yeah. We talked about this yesterday with a few people who work at centralized exchanges yesterday. And there's two types of KOLs on the when it comes to really making deals with right now in the KOL space. There's the one-time promos, right? So I'll pay you for a video, a tweet, like 2 shorts, and that's fine. And then there's people KOLs who come on more on a longer term deal, but they need to deliver, right? There's deliverables. That means you're mentioning the exchange, you're mentioning the product in a video once a week, twice a week, and also you're bringing volume. And what we're seeing, and this, Lucas, we're seeing really almost like like 2 different paths here. You have the KOLs who know they cannot bring volume openly. They tell us, I'm a shill guy. I'll do a tweet, bring some awareness, but I can't drive volume. And that's one type of KOL, and those will die. I'm telling you, we're very well connected in this industry now. We do live events. I have all these one-on-one conversations with people. Lucas knows this. Lucas has the same. Those KOLs will die at some point. It's a slow death. It's going to be painful. They're going to have to look for jobs. I'm telling you. The other type are the ones who actually team up with projects. Could be us, could be someone else, doesn't matter. But the idea is you have to think of the next 3 to 5 years, not the next 3 to 5 weeks, 3 to 5 months. And we see this in DMs. Otherwise, you're going to struggle. If you're a KOL, you're going to struggle. KOL or content creator, same thing. Because we as investors, right? Because Lucas is a KOL, but he's also of course, on the team side. He's, we're partners. So for us, when we look at 2 different KOLs and we see, okay, this guy's X amount of money, this guy is a bit more expensive, but we know that he can come in and actually bring volume, referrals. Who do you think we're going to go with, right? You have to think on a very selfish. We want people who can perform, and KOLs who understand that it's more than just a tweet or a video will do much better.
Also, a lot of these guys are just fucking assholes. I'm sorry, bro. They're fucking assholes. They're coming in here.
I didn't want to say it.
Dude, I'm so tired of these people. They come in here and they're like, entitled.
Yeah,
They're like, oh,
very entitled.
usually I charge 30,000. I can do 20,000 for you. Or, oh, you need to do this and that for me. Or, oh, like, we notice if they're dumping or something. We're like, hey, what the fuck are you doing, bro? And they're like, oh, well, this is my tokens. I can do what I want. It's like, okay, well,
Yep.
you're a piece of shit, bro. And it sucks because,
And we won't
it's
take you on to the next deal. Like this deals that we have with JeetBot, we're not taking other KOLs we worked with, by the way. You're not getting any allocation. You can buy the pre-sale, but you're not on anything that we do. So
yes,
that's just how it is.
It's unfortunate, but I do think it's like it's just like we needed to come down for the market to send again. These KOLs are going to have to be flushed out, and I think eventually it's going to get to the point where retail does learn over time. The market learns over time. It learns through pain, and they're going to cycle through all these people using them as exit liquidity or screwing over people, and eventually you're just going to run out of people to screw over. And that's just kind of you're going to end up like the Rap Instagram page that does a shitcoin promo and every cycle at the end of the cycle. And that's it, dude. And it's unfortunate, but that's just how it goes, bro.
Yeah. I mean, also, what's interesting too is seeing talking to several. So there were several guys yesterday who work directly. So who manage KOLs, right? These KOLs who have nothing else, some of them do real estate, so and crypto is more of a almost like a side gig for them, so they're doing fine. But the KOLs who only do content and sell videos and views, right now they're struggling big time. Right now, the last few weeks has been very tough, so they're reaching out and saying, hey, do you have work? It's sad because some of them kind of fucked up the relationship with real businesses, right? So we've seen a lot of projects come and go over the last 12 months. A lot of founders disappear, and that's fine. But for those who actually build things long term, I mean, there's people that we want to work with, right? That we at CoinRock have always had good relationships with, and who've been with us since day one. People who came in and who were on Cyclics, right? Some of the KOLs who just went on blind faith because you said, hey, I met these guys, they're building something interesting, you should come on. And we're very grateful to those guys, and we have good relationships with them. But then we also have the entitled assholes who've broken that relationship, and we will not get you on anything that we do until that's fixed on your end, and you come back and say, hey, I kind of messed up on that one. And that's fine. It's not gonna be with us, but it's a small industry and people talk.
I've been seeing this for a long time, ever since I got into influencer marketing completely by accident. The behavior I've seen in Web3 consistently has been just the worst, because it's like you have very highly opinionated people in a fringe industry that are basically able to come in and demand this or demand that, and oftentimes get away with it because they're working with scammers. And then they come in, and you can really see, because they'll either ask you a high amount to work with you, or they'll try and manipulate charts, or they'll try and do this or that. It's really disgusting. And unfortunately, they've been able to get away with this because, in part, the amount of fraud that's happening. But now that we're starting to peel back, when the Libras of the world, when the Hayden Davises of the world are being held accountable, they're going to start looking at people like that. And so that's unfortunate, bro. But you know what? I don't give a fuck, bro, because these people made their bed and they're going to lie in it. And it's going to be funny because the people who replace them are going to make more money by doing things the right way. And that's it. It's really that simple. It's that simple.
And you actually see it in groups, right? There's very few groups, and we're in a bunch of groups together with other KOLs and KOL.
I was going to say, very few groups. I don't know about very few groups. We're in a bunch.
No, but there's very few groups that actually are active these days, and with high quality people. Look at how many people dropped off in those groups and disappeared. A lot of these KOLs were like mid to low level, right? And even with big audiences, there's a few you and I know well, hundreds of thousands of followers on TikTok. They kind of disappeared because it's very tough for them now. If they haven't built anything aside from crypto, and they were relying only on big promos at 20 to 30K shills, it's very difficult for them if there's no income on the, if there's no ongoing income.
that's the thing about the crypto money is that I learned this last cycle too. It goes away as quickly as it comes. So like you can be doing in trading, or if you're, have a business in crypto, or you're doing content, you could be doing, 10, 20, 30, 100,000 a month. And the next month gone. It's like that, because it's so dependent on the market. So I advise this to all traders, to all creators, to all like business owners in crypto. It's like, you got to be willing and ready to squirrel away a bunch of your nuts, no homo. Because at the end of the day, dude, it's gonna dry up quick. So I don't know, man. I've gotten real used to living like, it'll be like 6 months of no money, and then like $500,000, boom, hits my account. I'm like, oh, thank God, it's an airdrop or something.
Yeah, it's Web3 and again, coming from Web2 is, and Kais also is from Web2. So, it's boring, it's slow, but it's consistent. So it's both sides, right? It's consistent, but it's boring. You'll never have the 50x in Web2. Yes, you'll hit a unicorn maybe if you're lucky, but you need a lot more luck to hit a big unicorn in Web2. In Web3, there is that, because it's still a new industry, you can hit a 50, 100, 200x on the building side, on the team side, right? If you're on a team that does well. I mean, there's a lot of teams that have had 500x's on okay projects. So, but in Web2, much tougher, right? But you need to balance both. Of course, the issue in Web3 that I see is, and this is like I turned 39 last week, so it's like the old guard here of like all these young kids. This is like my advice, like the young generation, is put your money away. I know there's this thing in crypto of like fiat being bad, but you don't need to buy 6 watches and 2 cars. You're fine with a car and a watch. It's fine. You don't, there is such a thing of having too much materialistic possessions that then end up owning you. And cash flow is very important.
Yes. No, dude, I made this mistake last cycle. I bought too much shit. I had way too much shit, and the money dried up, and I was like, oh, this is like owning me. So I sold everything I owned. Like, I've resolved to never own anything more than I absolutely have to. Like, for the last year and a half, I've pretty much been, even before I left the United States, I was gone for months at a time from my house in Florida. So I've gotten to the point where I'm never going to own more than a couple suitcases. And even when we buy a house or whatever, I personally am going to have a desk, a bed, and a chair, and that's it. And I'm never going to own more than that. And even if I have down the line more stuff to have, or if a family gets involved or whatever, like, I'm never ever doing that again. Like, there's such a freeing thing to know I can pack up and go anywhere. It's nice.
Yep. So there's nothing wrong with owning a watch. I've never been a watch guy, like never liked watches. A lot of sports guys just don't like watches because it's a bit, it's clunky. Nothing wrong with having a watch. You just don't, you don't need to have 5. Like, if you don't have consistent cash flow, and again, I know it's very boring, but yeah, having access to liquid, that's the watch you want.
This is goated, bro. The Apple Watch it's literally like the people who wear Apple Watches are either super poor or super rich, and there's no in between usually. It's like, you got to have one or the other. But like, I know people who have $20,000, $40,000 watches, and they still wear the Apple Watch. You can't replace it, man. It's just, it's too useful. I actually have a nice watch. Actually, it's right here. This is the only nice watch I own, and I have it because it's actually a very rare piece. This is the Trading View collab with Christopher Ward. And so it's got all the market times on it. It glows in the dark. It's this is recycled C plastic band, by the way. It was very affordable. It was $1,000, which I know is not like affordable, but in the world of watches, that's that's like it's like just getting a large meal to the drive-through instead of the regular. It's not crazy. So it's nice. It's gone up in value. It's $3,000 now if I had everything with it, but it's for me. And for me, that's my nice watch. And so you don't even need to spend that much money on it. And it just goes right in here, and I don't ever have to like worry about it because it's safe.
Yep.
So
Yeah, it's I think cash flow is very underrated, especially in Web3. And unfortunately, you see KOLs or others, right? It could be moderators, whatever the case is, making bad decisions because or having to dump good projects to pay for expenses because they didn't spend time building up cash flow, or they just didn't understand the value of having cash flow just to survive. So it's one thing where it's like having nice things is fine if that's what you like, but make sure that you have, you know, make sure that you're not one day away from poverty, you know, especially in
Wouldn't know
crypto.
what that's like. Wouldn't know what that's like. I've been like living like starving, like to like not sell my bags this entire cycle because I know what I hold and I'm willing to
Yeah.
suffer through the pain than dump on my community or to like sell stuff I know is going to be worth way
Also,
more
you know
later. So
what's coming
it's
up too, because you're on the inside of all this, right? Of everything. So
I'm highly convicted. So for
yeah,
me, it's like it's a function of necessity. But I think for most people, they don't really plan for that. They don't have a good
yeah,
reason. And I think as a trader, as a creator, you do want to have a little bit in cash. I think for
yeah,
me, like my exit strategy this cycle is like Bitcoin, real estate, and a little bit of cash, and that's pretty much it. And
yeah,
that'll be what I hold. That'll be my de-risking. And
yeah.
so people get into this. They think they're just going to hit 100x and leave. You got to have your numbers. You got to have a sense of operational runway here. I know it's funny for. I was talking to Justin recently. We've been going over our runway for the internal stuff here that we're building with CoinRock, and I was explaining to him like, no, this is a very important thing to look at, and you need to know what's your burn rate. And I'm trying to like show him because I learned this stuff at the startups I did last cycle. And I learned because we didn't have the runway and it was terrible. And I was like, let's never do that again, guys. Let's
Yeah.
never do that again.
Yeah, you actually need to look at the
Uh,
numbers. Let's take a quick 3-minute break and come back for the last segment. I think we can push for another half hour if you're good on time. I'm good on time.
yeah, I'm good. I'm good,
All
man. I
right,
took my Adderall at like 7 p.m. So we're rolling.
there you go. All right, quick break, and we'll be back in a few minutes. We'll take 3 minutes off. BRB. Hey, Matthias here, and if you're enjoying this and want access to even more alpha, early stage deals and opportunities, and also behind the scenes insights on the markets, hit the link in the description and make sure you're subscribed. It's free and it puts you ahead of the curve. Let's get back to the show. All right, we are back. Lucas, are you good? Sound-wise?
Yeah, can you hear me?
You good? Yep, all good. All right, welcome back to
Nice.
the CoinRock Show. We are on. It's been 2 hours now. We talk about everything crypto, Web 2, Web 3. I think we should, for those who just joined, welcome. Make sure to follow Lucas. Make sure to follow myself. Let's actually put your Twitter here.
Let's go. Yeah, I like doing these streams, man. We should do these like more regular on a schedule, I think. And
yeah, for sure.
I like the long form stuff because we can get some good clips and articles from here.
Yep.
And I think going forward, yeah, shout out to Matthias for putting that in the chat. If you want to find me on Twitter, I think like wrapping the stream up in this final segment here, we can talk about kind of where we go from here because I think that's what people are looking for right now. We can talk about the things that are happening in the short term and how we're going to play the rest of the cycle from like a building perspective. So I think going into like what I'm looking for in the short term, we have the Solana unlocks, we have FTX repayments, we have regulation coming, we have investigations. We've touched on that previously on this segment here prior. I think, in my opinion, the two things I'm looking into as far as hated rallies, I think Solana is honestly going to have a hated rally and Ethereum is going to have a hated rally. And the reason I say that is because people have been saying that Solana is a meme coin chain, a dead chain, a chain for scammers, a chain for farmers. My thesis is Solana is still the place where retail is. They have the most adoption and they have a lot of institutional adoption that people don't like to talk about because it doesn't have the narrative of an Ondo or an XRP. And everyone who's saying it's over, everyone who's sidelining themselves are going to be in shock when this thing does have a hated rally. Similar to Ethereum, if you look at the Ethereum chart to Bitcoin, looks like we bottomed. So the dominance of Bitcoin and Ethereum, I think, is going to start flowing into Ethereum. BlackRock has been buying. The two things BlackRock has not been selling is Ethereum and Bitcoin. And so I think we're going to see, Ethereum, Bitcoin, Solana continue to be the three to hold this cycle for people who just want to buy something and go away. And this flight to quality is going to happen. The Solana unlocks priced in. The FTX repayments, people actually are probably going to continue holding or buy more with the crypto they have. And that money is probably going to flow to Ethereum, Solana, and Bitcoin. And besides that, I'm looking into Phantom, aka Sonic. I'm looking into BNB. I'm looking into Sui. These are all ecosystems I think have incredible upside potential in for the rest of this cycle. So,
yeah, I've been tweeting about ETH for months now. I think it's probably the most hated coin, the most hated position. It's done nothing this cycle. But that being said, I think Ethereum is super bullish. I think you have to look at the quality of the holders. I think you have to look at the buyers. These are not, like I said, this is not retail people. Ethereum is silver to Bitcoin being gold. That's how institutions and old money understands it. It's the safer asset. It's old. It's quite secure. Of course, there's no zero risk, but it is more secure than many of the new chains. It's been battle tested. It has brand recognition. Of course, it has major issues, but remember, the issues that the NFT buyers had last cycle in terms of gas fees, or the issues that that are very real on the when it comes to Ethereum, the big buyers don't care about that. They want to make sure that they have an asset that will not go to zero and will still give them upside. ETH is the asset. I've been very bullish. I haven't sold any ETH. I think it's going to have its hated rally, and I look forward to resharing and reposting my tweets from 6 months ago about ETH, because it will rip at some point. It's not going to do a 10x, but it's definitely a safer play for those who don't want to be in the trenches every day.
It's funny. You've been tweeting like you've been underwater in that position for 6 months.
I'm not. I just know that the 8 to 12K range is,
yes,
barring
I think that's a
disaster. It's a given.
I think that's very fair. I think ETH to 10K, as it was written, is going to happen eventually, whether people want it or not. And this is coming from someone who, aside from the money that I have to pay for the gas fees to buy CYG, doesn't really have a lot of Ethereum. I found some Ethereum on some old wallets and immediately threw that into my Coinbase to go pay my bills from last cycle. So yeah, I think Ethereum is going to have its hated rally. I think Solana will have its hated rally. And I think this is this definitely, there's a lot of opportunity in other chains. I know that at least me personally, I'm a bit of a pessimist when it comes to a lot of these projects, but the layer ones I just mentioned, there's a lot of opportunity in these ecosystems. I had a spaces this week where we talked about some lending platforms on Say, and one's up 80% today, which is amazing to see. So there's a lot of great infrastructure plays you can make, instead of just for me personally, instead of buying the L1, we're at the point in the cycle where I go buy the infrastructure, the exchanges, like the decentralized exchanges, the borrowing and lending, the DeFi, right? The meme coins, the breakout meme coins of those ecosystems. That's an easier way to still have a lot of upside. In fact, a magnitude of 10 more upside than buying the base asset. Yes, you're experiencing more risk, but proportional to the reward, it's more attractive for me. So I'm looking into that. And I still think AI is the trade of the cycle. Aside from all of that, we've seen two very clear movements in AI and crypto, one being in Q1 of 2024 and the other being in Q4 of 2024. And I think it would be ridiculous to assume we're not about to see another one potentially in Q3 or Q4 of this year as well. So again, that's what I'm looking to deploy into. And I think that we're going to see more of this extended chop, more range-bound price action. Get comfortable, have a strong thesis, and I think that, as long as you understand what you're buying, which I think is part of the problem, is people don't really understand what they're buying. And of course, you can always use something like the rug scanner we built to try and give you more, knowledge, arm yourself with knowledge before you buy a lot of these things. You know, if you understand what you're holding, then, you know, you'll be okay. And if you have conviction and you're well researched, then there's no reason you can't do really well this year. And I think that's like the thing I'm trying to push across in all my content lately. It's like whether or not it's a bear market to me at this point is irrelevant. I know where these assets that I'm holding are going, and the question is, do you?
Yep. My view is that I don't like the tribalism in crypto. I think it's unnecessary. I see a lot of maxis, especially I think the Bitcoin maxis and the ETH maxis are just as toxic in different ways. I think that and look, there's pros and cons for each chain. I think that all three will do very well. ETH will do well this cycle. And you know what? If it's not in 3 months, maybe it's in 2 years. My view on ETH is very
Lord,
long-term.
don't tell me that.
It is an institutional asset. That's why it's a safer play. If there's anything safe in crypto, it is those two assets. That being said, very bullish on Solana. You know, I've met dozens of Solana builders. Solana is the chain of this cycle. There's a lot of building, despite the price action over the last few weeks. That's where the building is happening. Of course, there's other chains that are building too, but the bulk of the building is on Solana. It will have its hated rally too. It's rallied hard, of course, from $8 or $9 in the bear, so it's done well. But both will do well, and of course, Bitcoin will do what Bitcoin does. It will go up because the buyer profile is just so different this cycle. ETH and Solana will both do well. It's not it's not one or the other. They will both rip at some point for sure.
I think they're both good allocations to have in a diversified portfolio. And another thing I want to say is you mentioned there's a lot of building going on in Solana. People need to understand that real builders aren't going to spin up a pump fund in 2 minutes, right? Okay, so we all saw what happened on Solana over the last year. And I think that, you know, the real builders, the people who, like us, see opportunity, they see product market fit, they see, hey, we want to build this to solve this problem, to bring this to market. They can't just, you know, immediately deploy products on Solana. It's a very complicated, difficult blockchain to build on. I mean, all blockchains are, but the availability of Rust developers specifically is limited unless you happen to own a hiring company. In that case, it may be, but I don't know who would own one of those. You know what I'm saying? So it takes time to deploy these resources and to build
for
real
those
things.
For you, I do. So that's why.
Yeah. So, you know, that was a little inside joke.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, you can't deploy real products in 2 seconds. I mean, just look at how long it's taken to move VaultFi from Ethereum, right, to Solana, and why does that matter? Why is that important? I think it's a place where there's a lot of value add on the DeFi section. Like Solana needs strong DeFi, real DeFi. But it takes time to do that appropriately, and people don't really understand that. So yes, the builders are coming. They're here. A lot of them are here already. You just might not see it. A lot of it got drowned out in the meme coin launches. But people are already on Solana. They already have positions. They already have they're onboarded, and now they're asking themselves, what do I want to do next? You know, what else is there besides meme coins? And it's funny because the thing that always precedes DeFi running is Ponzi's. Because there's an element of Ponzi in a lot of these DeFi projects. Some of them are just straight up Ponzi's. Look at Infinite Money Glitch on Solana. I saw that and I said some slurs. I said some really difficult and hateful slurs when I didn't get into that at 300K market cap like all my buddies did. Made 1,000 Solana. I had a man look me dead in the eyes, told me he made 1,000 Sol on that. I would have racked 20 bands into that chart immediately if I saw it. The Ponzi season on Solana is proof. It is proof that there is a flight to quality coming. It's just the market has to. The meme coins are always the market sector leader, and then it's Ponzi's, and then the real stuff gets bid. And whether or not any of that survives is up to the teams, but the money is coming. The money is coming. And so if you're sitting here and you've been hating on Solana and hating on meme coins, understand that there's a real chance to get in here and print on the Solana ecosystem. Just look at Infinite Money Glitch. I mean, that in itself is enough to tell me that this chain is about to rip.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. Also, there is a big difference. Something that came to mind when you're saying building on ETH versus, or in the case of AltFi, launching. So anyone can launch anything with a token launcher, right? I mean, that's easy. But staking contracts and DeFi contracts, that needs to be built. Like, that's not something you can just press a button and create. So you actually need to build those. It takes time. So, and on the building side, when it comes to Solana, there's hundreds, maybe thousands, but hundreds of teams that you can go through that are building very different. Like yesterday, met two guys who are building a real world asset art project on Sol, right? Like you wouldn't know about them because NFTs and RWA hasn't really popped yet. Of course, there's plays, but there's a lot of plays on Solana that you haven't seen just because memes have taken so much mindshare. But the builders are on Sol. It's much easier to onboard retail. That's the truth. I know people like to hate Sol, but because of the memes. But the builders are on Sol this cycle, and of course, there's builders on other chains, but the percentages are nowhere near, to be honest. So.
Well, I mean, look at the, this is what people don't like to talk about. The securitized fund, they brought a lot of eyes on the institutional side of Solana. I can't remember exactly what the headline was, but there's a lot of people who are getting into Sol on the institutional side. I think Visa and MasterCard are bringing payments there. It's funny that the XRP guys never want to talk about that. It's like, okay, guys, we have real institutional adoption coming, and they're choosing Solana. Interesting. I wonder why that is. Could it be because maybe the technology is genuinely innovative, genuinely good? There's an update coming to Solana called Firedancer, and that's going to scale Solana to 1 million TPS. Do you understand what 1 million TPS is? I believe that MasterCard and Visa can do about 1,000 TPS, which, if you've ever stood there awkwardly wondering if you're too poor to afford that grocery cart, and that the 10 seconds of the harrowing
10 to 20 seconds sometimes. Unbelievable.
Yeah, imagine how much you'd save if it was instant finality, if it was an instant on-chain check of your credit score. That's what's coming, and it's going to happen on Solana. It's not happening on XRP. I'm sorry to tell you, because they're paying for a MoneyGram partnership in 2019, and they keep recycling that headline. That's not real. What's real is them building this kind of shit on Solana, and yes, also on Ethereum to some extent as well. So at the end of the day, guys, it's not just retail who's building or being involved with Solana and Ethereum and things like that. Institutions are coming too. And remember, it doesn't have to be the best technology in the world. Solana has many problems. It just has to be better than what's currently out there. And that is, I think, the biggest thing people don't understand, because they get so caught up in this. Well, my transactions, my technology is a little bit more decentralized, and it costs a tenth of a fraction of a hair less than yours. And it's like, okay, well, who's got the users? Let me show you the users, and I'll show you the winner.
You should, I think it's a good opportunity now to talk about all these L1s, right? What is because everyone likes to brag about how many transactions and the speed and this and that. The only thing that matters are the users. You should talk about some of the L1s you've worked with, or as an advisor, or seen or been offered deals, but have no users.
So I always like to go back to ICP, and ICP Twitter hates me because I bear post it constantly. But like, I genuinely cared about what they were building with ICP and what Dfinity was doing, and I saw the technology. I got into it right. The first day I saw ICP was when it dropped at like number 3 on CoinMarketCap on day 1. And that chart has been down only. I mean, I think I saw it at $1,000 ICP or something crazy. And now it's $5. So yeah, there was definitely some extraction going on there. And, but beside, I was willing to look past all of that because their technology, it's really good. ICP built some really good, technically interesting things. But it doesn't matter. None of that matters because the people building it, they spit in the face of builders. They spit in the face of their own community. They spit in the face of the influencers. They don't care at all about actually getting people on chain and building things that are usable or that have product market fit. They have a specific vision, right? of it's like the bureaucracy over there, where they have a specific vision, checks and balances. They move at a snail's pace, and it's costed them everything. And it's funny because everyone's seeing ICP switch to narrative, trying to catch a bid somewhere. Now, of course, they're doing on-chain AI. Yeah, I'm sure you are. Why were you not doing that for 5 years since the ICO? Because there's nothing really going on there. And so I saw that and I finally gave up. I was like, fuck this chain, bro. These people suck. I'm gone. And I did so much for them for free, because I fucked with their tech. Never again. No free press.
Angry Lucas. No, but that's how it is, right? It's for those who are more from Web 2, users in Web 3 are basically the data, the prospect list, the customer list you have or you don't have in your e-commerce store or your information publishing store business or your SaaS. If you can have the best SaaS, you can have the best restaurant. If no one is sitting at the table, you have nothing. It's as simple as that in Web3. It's the same thing. The best tech is useless if no one is building on it or using it. So some of these guys building incredible technology just don't understand, or just are poorly surrounded by people who don't want to tell them the truth, that the only once you have technology, the only thing that matters is distribution. That's it. Nothing else matters, because someone else will come in and replicate the tech.
ICP doesn't care, bro. Like the Divinity Foundation, they have they already got their
talk
money.
About that a bit, because I think you and I know it, but I think it's a good insight for people who are not in it,
Divinity, they raised so much money. They have infinite money. They literally print ICP and sell it to pay their staff, which is very bloated and expensive in Zurich. They have all this money. They have all the money in the world.
Zurich, by the way, I'm Swiss. I know the real estate. It's literally one of the most expensive cities in Europe.
It is. I mean, the water's $4 a bottle. Like, Jesus Christ, man. And so they have prime real estate, expensive staff, a real corporate structure, all this stuff. And the stuff they're funding is ridiculous. I mean, one of the apps that they were touting as their flagship products is it was called Hot or Not, and it was like TikTok, decentralized TikTok, guys.
I remember that.
They were doing the whole SocialFi thing, and then you open the app and it's so buggy. And it's a bunch of Nigerian guys reposting OnlyFans content to get clicks, and so they can go sell the tokens. Hot or Not had $4,000 in liquidity. They raised $1 million ICP or something like that. I mean, it's insane, bro. And so, they want to claim decentralization. They want to claim that they have the best tech, but they control the funding. They have this specific vision in mind. They're not willing to listen to anyone from the community. And it's a shame, because at the end of the day, it's a waste of potential. It doesn't matter.
We know people who worked actively in that community.
Yes.
With good ideas.
And it's unfortunate, because you could have the best idea in the world. Nobody is going to make an internet identity, bro. That's the most insane thing I've ever heard. The onboarding process for ICP is terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible. Yeah. You got to have a technical degree in IT support just to even make a wallet.
Yeah.
They have something called a principal ID and a wallet. It's you have to have multiple things. It's how am I even using this shit?
Yeah. That's why Solana is the chosen chain for this cycle, because it's easy. It has to be easy for normies. Simple as that. Simple as that. No one wants to spend a minute, more than 10 seconds creating a new account. And we're all the same, right? Whenever you download a new app from the App Store, if it's too complicated, there's a lot of other competitors you can go to. So
I swear to God, when you get into marketing and you understand how quickly you have to capture someone's attention, you can see it in my videos. Only about 10% of the people even get 40 seconds into a minute video, and the people who actually finish it's 5%. You have very precious little time to capture attention, and if you're not doing that, if you're not converting users, whatever that might be, whether it's people trading on your platform, borrowing, lending, scrolling, providing their attention, their input on things, you can't expect to ever have results. But they don't care. That's the thing you all don't understand.
Yes.
These foundations already got their money. They don't care
their
about
money.
you.
Yes. You really don't matter. That's the thing. that you unfortunately you only learn this when you actually meet them face to face, because they can't post this online. But it doesn't matter. They've already made their millions, some their billions, right? The XRP guys, they've been here for a long time. They're OGs in the space. There's no incentive for them to want to build revolutionary tech. They have their money, and I don't blame them. I get it.
I respect it. No, I respect the grift.
You
Dude,
secure the
they're
bag.
making billions of dollars by just like paying a little bit of money to get people to hype up a token. I swear to God, the only people I see who own XRP are like construction workers, retail people, the people who, and I have a lot of respect for them guys because I was delivering pizza back in the day too. They are not what you would call a accredited investor, a real like, you know what I'm saying? When I get TikToks with 100,000 likes of a construction worker dancing to a trap beat saying, yeah, I got all this XRP, guys. That's going to make me sell. That's going to make me sell, because why would I own something like that?
Yep. A lot of wisdom shared on this this live. We're 2.5 hours done. We could go on for honestly double, but I think we'll wrap it up here. A few action points here. Number one, make sure to follow Lucas. We put his X here in the chat. Make sure to follow me. Make sure to follow JeetBot too. JeetBot is the trading ecosystem that we have built together. So it's a CoinRock, Lucas, and Justin default trades collab. I'm just looking at some of the updates here in the group. We have some sniper updates today, maybe tomorrow, but maybe today. So we'll push that for those who are JeetBot users, and we'll have we have a full marketing phase and campaign cooked and prepped by Lucas coming up on the onboarding side very soon.
I'm excited, man. You know, it's a bad market, but we have a lot of people who've given us some great feedback on JeetBot, who are excited about JeetBot, people that really resonate with what we're doing here, and they see the value in it. And so, you know, we're not paying anyone. None of this is paid, but we have some partners that we're bringing on, some people who've invested, some people who, you know, are just in it for the referral, some people who just are in it because they see what we're doing and they think it's important. So yeah, big update coming around the Sniper and Bot V2. We'll be sharing that potentially a bit later. We'll check in and Zoom after this and catch up, I'm sure. But yeah, I'm excited, man. I think now's the time where we have a really excellent product with a lot of core logic done. What matters now is users and volume.
Users and volume, and also JeetBot for everyone here. JeetBot is currently a Telegram bot, but the Telegram bot is just the first wave. We have a browser extension, we have a Discord bot, and of course the web app is the big play. The web app ready in about 4 to 5 weeks from now. And a lot more features on the web app because there's just more real estate on computer screens. But yeah, very exciting. I just got 2 DMs here from about investing for JeetBot. The Series A is open, closing soon, but still open. So if you guys are interested in that, reach out to either Lucas or me. The link to JeetBot is JeetBot AI, I believe. Make sure you only interact with the real one. It is JeetBot_AI. Let me just put the link here for everyone.
You can find all the links at jeetbot.ai. You know, make sure you're following the real account on here. I mean, if you want to check the real Telegram bot name, it's in the description of the X bio. You know, it's going to be
put the link here to it's JeetBot_AI. Yeah,
that's the Twitter or the X. Sorry, Elon. Yeah, no, I think that I think that everyone waiting for JeetBot and who's been excited to see what we've been working on, like the time is now. The time is indeed now. And you know, if you're wondering, like, is this possible? Have they really made a market order that's scalable that can change everything? It's real. It's live, and there's something for everybody. I think that we're really pushing the limits of what's possible on Telegram. You would not believe the calls we've had with the team. And so I want to say shout out to our development team, amazing people who really are pushing as hard as we are. And so, you know, I never ask anyone of something that I won't do myself, and we're right there with them in the trenches. So That's pretty much it. I mean, I'm very excited. CoinRock Media too. I mean, we have so many catalysts. It's honestly like,
Yes.
I know that it's painful, guys, but low key, this price action is the best thing that could have happened for us long term.
Yes, a lot of updates literally in the next few hours / few days. So keep an eye out. We'll be pushing that across all groups and socials. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Lucas. Have a great day, everyone. If your portfolio sucks, stay level-headed, stay rational. I know it's tough for many watching this, but we are very bullish mid to long term, and we're building great tech, and we would not be building if we were not hyper bullish for the mid to long term. Thank you guys, and we'll talk to you soon. Hey, thanks for watching. If you got value from this episode, you're going to love what's coming next. So subscribe now. We drop new episodes and videos several times a week featuring power players, market movers, and insiders from the financial world. And if you want access to deals and insights we only share privately, hit the links in the description, and we'll see you on the next show.